The following podcast is run by a couple of former wheel turners and one pit guy. It's meant for entertainment, not so much information, but sometimes there's some good information. The opinions expressed are just, these are the morons on the show. Not necessarily right, not necessarily wrong, not the views of any of the sponsors or anything like that. So, these guys, they're going to be talking, they might swear here and there, so if that offends you, either grow up or get a little permission from mom and dad.
All right, race fans, we're back. Big weekend of racing up in upper Midwest, of course, with the Wisota 100, legendary 100 this past weekend. Lots of other stuff going on, but we're at it here. It's Monday night. We're getting the show done. We're going to try to get this to you earlier in the week. Life is kind of slowing down for all of us, so apologize to everybody for the shows coming out so late over the past couple weeks, but life has been very busy for the whole lot of us. So we'll see if we can get her kind of tuned in here for the closing weeks of Wisota season. So episode number 240, brought to you by Impact Health Sharing. So it's that time of year, open enrollment, literally right around the corner. If you're self-employed, if you pay for your own health insurance, if you got employees, farmer, whatever it may be, right? If you're paying for your own health insurance and you're looking at it every month and you're like, holy crap, I'm paying way too much money, I barely use it. If you're going to a specific doctor because the doctor you want to go to is not in network, I might have a fix for you there. If your deductibles are crazy high and you're like, man, I can't even afford to go to the doctor, have an alternative there. Got a product called Impact Health Sharing. And for families, you're looking around $600, $650 a month with a household deductible of about $2,500. No in-network type stuff. You can go to any provider. Hit me up, 218-969-1380, or message me on Facebook, call me, text me, whatever you want to do. I can get you a quick quote. I can get you the information you need to see if this is going to be a good fit for you, if it can help you out. So that's Impact Health Sharing. All right, guys, let's just get it out of the way, right? Let's attack the elephant in the room. Kraus, I don't know if you noticed or not, but one team stands alone on top of the NFC North Division. All right, it's not Bert's frickin' team. It's not that team. All right, I don't want to mention any names, but we can kind of gloat on this for at least one more week. Might be the last week we can do that all year. Could possibly be, but yeah, Vikings football. Bert, Packers got it done though. Like, kind of surprised. Would they run 55 times in that game or some shit?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
so in the first half, the quarterback only threw like 5 passes, I think.
You're right. That's about all they trusted him with. So we get that out of the way, right? I know there's some Wisconsin fans on here. We can convert you. Come over to the good side. It is what it is. But let's get into some racing here. So let's start with our top 5 stories. Of course, the sponsor of this is from Wisconsin. Great guy, though. I love him to death, but that's Chris and the crew over at Fastlane Motorsports in Ashland, Wisconsin. And if you need, well, first of all, they have the Galloper chassis. They build that for B-Mod, super stocks, modifieds, you name it. But they do custom powder coating, fabricating, sandblasting. They sell parts at various racetracks. They can sell parts. You can order them from them. They can drop ship them. Great group of guys over there. I've been sponsored by them in the past with my racing. Now, of course, they sponsor the show. Proud sponsor of the #1 series in all of Wisota racing, the Northland Superstock Series, and the Red Clay Classic, literally right around the corner. He'll be at the Silver 1000, which is a week from Thursday. That's in Proctor, the rescheduled, and he'll be at the Red Clay Classic as well up at the ABC Raceway. So if you need parts, tires, whatever it may be, give them a call. Fastlane Motorsports and Powder Coating in Ashland, Wisconsin. So, boys, let's start with a little rumor mill, right? There's really no off season anymore in dirt late models, right? I mean, you got all the way through November, you got the World Finals down at Charlotte, you got Gateway Dirt Nationals in December. January, they're already at Votto. So, I mean, it just gets crazy. But the silly season kind of starting to come in flux. So, a press release last week, Brandon Sheppard going to be out at the end of 2025, no longer going to be in the house car at Longhorn. And I think we kind of expected that, right? We talked about that quite a bit in the group that, it's not really working. He's not winning. Could you see him maybe kind of moving on? And it looks like that's the case. And I talked to some sources and they said he kind of sounds like part of the reason he got out of the Rocket One ride is he wanted more time at home, right? He wanted to got a new kid at home, got a couple little ones, built a new shop. And my sources said he wasn't spending any more time at home. They were literally flying him down to Charlotte. He was gone all the time anyway. So literally he jumped ship for a better opportunity that didn't quite become the better opportunity. But there's a couple rumors floating around. Do you think that Bishop could maybe be transitioning back to Rocket One for 2025? What do you guys think?
Well, first of all, you said that the silly season is getting started. Well, I think the silly season started early in the season when Hudson O'Neal left Rocket One and then RTJ. And it's kind of been, you're just waiting for drivers to switch teams now because of what happened earlier in the season. But I mean, if T-Mac and Rocket One decide to part ways, I mean, I could definitely see Brandon Sheppard going back there if he's willing, if he's happy with the situation of going back there.
No, he struggled at the end. That last year at Rocket One, he was just kind of where he's at now. He was there, kind of competitive, but not the dominant Brandon Sheppard that we saw for a couple years on the Rocket One ride. Kraus, do you think this would be the best fit for both Brandon Sheppard and for Mark Richards Racing? Do you think that would be the best fit, him going back to that ride where he had so much success just a few years ago?
Yeah, 100%. But it makes zero sense. Like, and if anybody thinks that Sheppard was going to go to Longhorn in the short term, I don't think anybody expected that to be a 1-year deal. I think everybody expected that to be a long, prosperous marriage, like majority of the people out there, unlike Ryan and Bert. But of course, I don't think Ryan hasn't even ever been down that road, has he, Bert? So
No.
I don't know. Weird situation. It would be a perfect fit because obviously there's chemistry there. He knows all the crew. He knows everybody. You know what I mean? Mark knows how he drives. I mean, everything would be perfect there. But I don't see that happening. I'm surprised that he's not going back to Longhorn. He shouldn't have gone there in the first place. If he wants more free time and more time with your family, don't drive a house car. Drive your own car to begin with. So I don't know. It's to the point now. I don't even think Bishop knows what the heck's going on. You go from house car to your own car to house car, now back to your house car or your own family car for a while. I mean, it's a circus right now. So settle down. Well, if you want to run your family B5 car, run it. There's enough money there. Everything I've heard, there's plenty of money there in that Sheppard family for him to go run, do whatever he wants. Makes more sense maybe to go hit the big shows. Don't get on a tour and run the Hell Tour and do stuff like that. But who knows? I don't see him back in the Rocket One.
Well, let me ask you both this. Bert, let me ask this question. I'll let you elaborate, and maybe I'll let you answer this first. Is Mark Richards' side of things? Let's face it, T-Mac, he's had a storied career, great driver, but he's not young. He's not that high flyer, and he's surging up. He's kind of running a little bit better, but the house car program with Rocket One isn't about research and development. It's about winning championships. So with that said, okay, you're talking about like maybe that's the best fit or whatever for Brandon Sheppard, but if he's not the best fit to go back there, who is the best fit to go to Rocket One and be that guy?
I honestly, I don't know who would be. I mean, like you said, I mean, when you think of a Rocket One house driver, you think of a young upcoming driver that that's really good, though. It's not somebody who's learning on the fly necessarily. I mean, they can run with the top drivers, and I don't know. I mean, I don't see RTJ going there because he likes to race all sorts of things besides late models, and I don't know if Mark Richards would be willing to allow him to do all of that other racing. So I'm not sure who would fit in that ride.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Now, of course, T-Mac's still in that ride. That ride's not vacated yet. But with Brandon Shepherd essentially looking like he's parting ways with the Longhorn House Car program, let me ask you this. Who would be a good fit to take over that ride? Who would be a good fit to take over the Longhorn ride? I've heard some rumors kind of floating around. The rumor right now is big sexy Brandon Overton is going to be taking over the Longhorn ride as the house car driver. Now, he's had a pretty long deal with Wells. Again, this is just rumors. My sources are telling me this. I don't know. This is not factual information here. This is rumors that I'm hearing. But could you see Brandon Overton making the jump over and being the house car driver at Team Longhorn?
Well, from what I understand, the house car is staying with Riggs Motorsports. So where are they located?
I don't know that answer.
Okay.
I don't know.
So yeah, I mean, Brandon Overton really hasn't run that well since they switched to the Infinity?
Yeah, Infinity by Wells.
You know, a few years ago, you expected him to win every race he was in, and you just don't feel that anyway with him. So I wouldn't be shocked at all, if he wanted to try something different.
Yeah, I mean, different or familiar. He's kind of already been in that Longhorn deal, right? So that's the rumor going around right now. I mean, who do you think? First of all, their house car program is considerably different, right? Rocket One's house car program is winning championships. Longhorn's house car program is essentially been research and development. Now, maybe that'll transition. Maybe they'll switch, but with pretty much most of the top drivers being in a Longhorn, is there really a benefit for them to have a house car driver at Longhorn, or do you think that's counterproductive?
I mean, with all the cars they got out there, it looks like it's more counterproductive. And Overton don't make much sense anyway. I thought Longhorn was mad at Overton for hopping in a Bloomquist car last year, and that's why they went to Infinity by Wells instead of doing the Longhorn deal. So would Longhorn bring him in, even though I don't know where Overton is as far as what his role is with Infinity by Wells. He's been with them a long time. I would assume this was part of his decision too, to do this. So I don't see that happening. I don't know. I don't know who the best driver is for that deal. I really don't. Like I said, I don't think, Longhorns, they went from McCready to Bishop. They're not going to go to who, you know what I mean? They're not. I don't see them doing some young guy that hasn't won anything. The only guy that makes sense would be an RTJ or a Pierce or someone like that. But I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see.
Are those two guys though too polarizing to be a house car driver? Right? If you take Pierce and RTJ, they are elbows up on the chip, racing, no fucks given. They will absolutely don't care if they nerf you a little bit. They're going to the front. Would that be a bad situation to have one of them as your so-called house car driver? Do you think you'd have some of them other guys going, screw this guy? Like, what are you doing? Overton's kind of that more respectful, not a banger, so maybe, I guess we'll find out. Punch the buttons below. There are some rumors going around. Another rumor, we'll touch on this later. Davenport, little rumors floating around. Jonathan Davenport, heard that from Uper, possibly getting married back up here with Jason Durham over at Category 5. So there's a few things floating around, but punch the buttons below. What's going to happen with Longhorn? What's going to happen with Rocket as far as house car drivers? What's everybody think that's going to be fun to watch in the coming weeks? Bert, closing thoughts on that.
Well, not on that, but what I was going to say before is, we've talked about the up and down season that Bishop has had, and the release of this press release wasn't even done correctly because it got leaked out the day before it was actually announced. And I don't know if they would have even announced it when they did, but they had to at that point because it had already been leaked.
That was interesting. That was definitely interesting deal. Rumor has it he has two brand new rockets. The family has two brand new rockets coming, or he already has them. I don't know. It'll be fun to see what happens here. So speaking of late models, is there a guy right now, right, that's kind of on the rise more than Garrett Albertson? And that is number 4, continuing to impress. 3 Lucas Oil MLRA races this past weekend over in Iowa, second at Tipton, and he doubled up. He won both nights at Davenport, and there were some hitters there. It wasn't your typical just Lucas Oil MLRA series. There were some hitters that come in, and he fended them off, and 8 wins on the season. I tell you what, 2025 could be a breakout year. Could he possibly be a contender to get in that Final Four championship battle in 2025? That's Garrett Albertson. Your guys' thoughts?
Well, he's definitely got a lot of momentum going right now. I mean, besides the wins that he had this past weekend, he also had a good weekend at Eldora the week prior. He led, I don't know, 20 or so laps of the World 100. So he was running up front early on, faded a little bit as the race went on. But that's kind of typical for younger drivers in the 100-lap races. You know, they get used to they have to get used to those. But he's definitely on the upswing, and I could see that happening.
Let me ask you this: with the season that he's had, and I mean, this is by far the best season he's had in super late models, not close. Could he be a good fit in either the Longhorn or the Rocket Ride? From what I understand, he's the guy. Everybody gets along with him. He's got a great personality. He's gaining experience. He's been to about every track. He's running well. He's running up front. What do you think? Is Garrett Albertson a guy that maybe one of these guys should look at for a house car driver? Kraus?
I mean, he could be. I mean, way things are going this year, I mean, anybody could be really. He's been consistent, yes. End of the day, he still only has 1 win. So yeah, I think at the end of the day, if you want to really put yourself on the map, you better start getting some more wins. But he's been more consistent. And that's what's been his downfall the last few years. Way too up and down. And now all of a sudden he's getting some quality finishes. Sometimes that's where you have to start with these guys. You gotta start with your top 5s, get to your podiums, and then start picking off wins. You know, a lot of these guys aren't going to come in here being young and fly right in to start winning 10, 12, 15 races a year. So he's doing things the right way. And like you said, everybody likes him. He's fast, and he's not afraid to elbow up either too. So definitely a possibility. And like I said, and anything's possible right now.
For sure. So, Bert, go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to say, you know, it'll be interesting to see if his name is mentioned in any of these rumors in the silly season. We'll see if dirt late model racing goes the way of college football and the NFL, where they have the combine and a player just has unbelievable combine and moves up the charts. You know, that could be the case. What's going on right now?
Yeah, I tell you what, I mean, it would be fun to see that. I mean, a new guy with a great opportunity. I mean, everybody speaks very highly of him, and I think that 2025 could be a big year for Garrett Albertson. Whether he gets one of the house car deals or he stays where he's at, that's a guy to keep an eye on for the remainder of 2024, really, and going into the 2025 season. So, Bert, I know you did not. We talked about that. Kraus, you were at hockey. We're not going to talk about how that went. Your opening game against your bitter rivals, but Legendary 100 at number 3, champions crowned at the Legendary 100, Cedar Lake Speedway, New Richmond, Wisconsin. Did either of you? I know Bert, you watched some of Cedar Lake. Coach, did you watch any of the features over at the Cedar Lake Speedway?
Oh, I'm trying to remember. I think I caught the. No, I think I just caught the Midwest Mod feature. I saw the results of the late model. I saw some stuff Fridays or some stuff Thursday, but didn't get to see a whole lot.
So I'll just kind of recap a little bit, and then if something sticks out, you guys can kind of jump in and say, you know, hey, that stuck out. But in my opinion, one of the better races of the weekend, the late model feature over at the Cedar Lake Speedway, was good. Ashley Anderson staying hot. He fended off. So AJ Dima led early, and he looked really strong in the early stages. Yellow come out, then he faded a bit. And Pat Nora threw a haymaker, took the lead. Daryl Nelson was in the mix, but Ashley Anderson, AJ Demo, Pat Nora, Daryl Nelson, and Bargender, your top 5 in the late models. Very good race over at the Cedar Lake Speedway. Bert, anything stick out to you from the late model feature at the Cedar Lake Speedway?
Well, I was when I was looking at Facebook this morning, I saw AJ Demo Racing posted on Facebook. He said they stated, he posted his results for the weekend, but he stated that on the yellow, when the race restarted, one of his tires didn't refire, and it took a few laps for it to fire the way it's supposed to, and Ashley got by him, but he congratulated Ashley on the win and said he's been on a unbelievable run lately.
Yeah, that's an MB2, right? So I mean, they got MB Customs 1-2 finish there, and it looked like it. I mean, he looked dominant before that yellow come out, and then it was like a light switch came off, and it's like he literally looked like a fly swatter out there. Like he had no traction. It's like, what happened? And the car came back to him at the end, but too little, too late. Ashley Anderson, and he posted, man, it's finally good to get one of these. I texted him. I said, look here, dickhead, you already won one of them. Kind of pisses me off because I got second in that one in the super stock. So Ashley Anderson, phenomenal race car driver. He's won in mods, supers, late models. I mean, you name it, one of the best to strap in. And first late model win at the Legendary. He did win a super stock one, but that guy's won a lot of races. Modified A main, I got to be honest, a little bitter on that one. I picked Caden Blazer, right? He's one of my favorite young guns out there, and didn't have an engine. I should have did my research on the pick'ems. I lost the lead. Changa took the lead. Caden Blazer, one of the hottest drivers in Wisconsin right now, was not at the Legendary 100. Sounds like he's ready to go for the Punky. But the Hermantown Hammer, Daryl Nelson holding off Jake Smith and Josh Angst to finish 1, 2, 3 in the modifieds at the Legendary 100. Daryl Nelson kind of drove away from that after the year he's had between his health issues, his wife's massive accident she had last year. Pretty cool to see Daryl Nelson parking in victory lane at Cedar Lake. Anything, did you guys watch the mods? Anything to stick out there? Should we move on?
I did watch the mods, but yeah, nothing really sticks out.
Hey, I want to give a shout out too to Nick Ayotte, rookie in the modified division. He did come out with a top 5 finish, and it's a pretty solid run over there at Cedar Lake, finished top 5. So congrats to him as well.
Actually, was it at Cedar Lake? I can't remember if it was the mods or the Midwest mods when the driver that got all
Midwest
irate at another driver.
Midwest mod. We'll get to that.
Well, there was 2 of them.
Oh.
Remember?
Oh, that was the mod. Yeah, that was
Okay.
the top 4. That was the top 40 express right there. I didn't see what happened. They didn't really show the replay, but yeah, the old top 40 and JD Ford in the 343. Something happened there, and Danny Thomas having a Danny Thomas moment in 3 and 4, and it looked like he was gonna chuck his steering wheel at him, and then he kind of did that, and he kind of paused, and it's like, come on, T40, chuck it, let's get her done.
Well,
I want to see a carb stomp there, but he didn't do it. He cooler heads prevailed. He told him he was number 1, told him what he thought of him, but he did not. It did not get physical from there. But JD Ford stopped there, which was weird. I don't know why.
Well, yeah, I was going to mention that he stopped there, and then he couldn't. The announcers did say that he needed a push start earlier in the race, so the car must have stalled there, and he couldn't move. The officials were motioning him to keep going, to calm down the situation, but he couldn't because the car wouldn't move.
The top 40 Express a few years back might have kicked his air cleaner off there, but he's kind of settled down a little bit in his old age. So kind of disappointed. Danny, I wanted to see you kind of go crazy there, but I guess he calmed down. And I didn't see the incident. I don't know what happened.
I don't remember the incident either.
So super stocks, they didn't have them because, of course, there was Wisota super stocks at Cedar. By the contract, the 100 at Fergus is the only one that can run them, but they did have B mods over there. Mitch Weiss with a great run, 4th win of the year, getting it done. Cole Boston 2nd, and Ryan Savoy from up in Superior, Wisconsin got 3rd. Great to see him on the podium. Cole Boston, Kraus, I know you've watched a lot of races this year. That 33C kind of runs Ogilvy quite a bit. You see him at Cedar. You see him kind of in central Minnesota. he's found some speed this year. He's really turned his, he's last couple of years, he kind of showed some speed, but a little sporadic. And I tell you what, he's going to be fun to watch in the next couple of years. I don't know how old he is. I think he's a pretty young dude, but Cole Boston, a guy to keep an eye on. Little bit of drama in the B mods. Well, it's because it's B mods, and that's what happens, right? So night number one, I don't know if you guys saw this, no fault rule kind of come into play. David Swearingen out front, and Brady Larson got a head of steam off of 4 and literally ass packed him getting into 1. And some people are like, oh yeah, he flat out dumped him on purpose. And other people are like, he just overdrove the corner. I don't know, but he got him good. And Swearingen went around, and of course, no fault caution. Bad deal. I got to be honest with you. I mean, in today's world where you can literally look at it in about 2 seconds on the stream, they should make a call on that. When it's the leader of the race and second place flat out just dumps them. I mean, what's your thought on that no fault caution in that situation? I mean, I get it when it's a tough deal. I hate that deal. I mean, that was a bad deal for Swearingen. I don't know if he came back the rest of the weekend. I don't think he did. I think he just said, I had enough fun. I went home. Kraus?
Well, that's this majority of the stuff I saw about from Cedar Lakes. Everybody bitching about the no fault caution. No fault caution and no fault caution. I mean, everybody's posts. You're gonna have more calls in these shows. You just are. Everybody's racing to win the legendary, or racing to win the 100 or whatever it is. So there's gonna be more calls involved. Pay somebody to make some calls. That's their job. Get things right. That's the big thing at these shows. You got to make sure you get things right.
And we're going to talk a little bit more about that as we talk about the Wisota 100, because there's an interesting tidbit I have. I don't know if either one of you heard about it. We'll talk about that in a sec. Jason Vandekamp, the most decorated probably B-Mod driver in the area. I mean, and 10,000 to win. He won, where did he win? Up in Thunder Bay, it was 10 grand to win. Then he won at Ashland, those 10 grand to win. He's had a hell of a year. Probably I would have to say by far and away the winningest B-Mod driver at Cedar Lake. Late race incident, and with him and Sean Kelly, a guy that I used to run super stocks against, and Sean Kelly ended up against the fence down the front straightaway, and he was ultra emotional because he was running good. I mean, he hasn't really had quite the upfront runs he had back in the day in the supers, but he was poised to be on the podium. He was looking really good, and him and Vandy got together, and Sean Kelly, it was wrecked, and they put the mic in his voice in his face right away, and he was so mad and so upset that he could barely even mutter a word out. But you basically got out of it. He was not happy with Jason Vandekamp, and they were throwing some sliders back and forth earlier in the race, but yeah, that was a tough deal. I mean, I know a lot of guys in the area. They're like, "Oh man, Vandy's a hack, and he's fast." I mean, I've watched him a lot. I think he's just a good driver, wins a lot of races. I like Sean Kelly too. I would have a hard time believing that he intentionally got Sean Kelly into the fence, but man, I tell you, you've been there, Kraus. I mean, you race against a guy that you know is pretty clean, but all of a sudden you have an incident with him. You're still pissed no matter what. I mean, you're ready to throw down, and tough break there for Sean Kelly. Street stocks here. Hunter Van Gilder, grandson of the legendary Butch Madsen, parking in Victory Lane, and I did talk to him. He said really nice trophy at the legendary 100. He said really impressed with the trophies they handed out. Kraus, legendary 100 did not have trophies. Your thoughts as a track promoter?
Well, let's start with being a driver first of all, okay? And especially if it was me, because I don't even think I've won a B feature at Cedar. I haven't even won a heat race. I've only raced there 3 times, maybe twice. But if I went down there for my first win and it was a legendary 100 and I didn't get a trophy, I'd probably end up getting DQ'd, and I wouldn't be deserving to get a trophy anyway. But come on, like, you got to have something nice trophy. The 100 did something a little cool with their deal, and I don't know if you saw our fallen lineman deal. We had the line, you know what I mean? You got to get these. This is what people want. Do they collect dust and get in the way after 20, 30 years? Yes. But you need to have something there, because you got to think of the drivers and you think of the other people. What happens if it was somebody's first ever career win and they didn't get a trophy? You know what I mean? It's heartbreaking. So you got to put past the couple bucks it is to find a sponsor for them and make sure you get these drivers a trophy.
Well,
100%.
and I mean, any race that has the name legendary in it should have a trophy.
Just saying. Yeah, just saying. Now, kind of the biggest drama of the week, and my phone blew up over the USRA late models. National title implications on the line. I think there's only a couple shows left, or one show left. Maybe only one show left, actually, for the USRA late models. Might be down at Mississippi Thunder. So Cade Nelson, hell of a weekend. I mean, they had a really good night that last night. Daryl got fourth in the late model, first in the mod. Cade won all 3 nights of the USRA late models, and pretty much, I think, has his second straight USRA late model title locked up. But I want you guys' thoughts on this, right? And this is all from sources. I wasn't there, but this is the facts that I have in hand from multiple people. So USRA points, kind of a neat deal. You get your points for finishing position in the feature, but you also get points for however many cars you pass to get there. So if you start 18th and get second, you get more points than the guy that starts first and wins a feature. And I kind of like that. You put on a better show, and tell you what, that rewards somebody from coming from deep. So kind of a neat deal. Matthew Larson, I think it was night 1, maybe night 2. He went out in time trials, and they kind of looked at the points, and they're like, I can't start up front because I can't gain enough points. I'm gonna have to start in back. So he drives by the scales, goes back in, and he's like, I'm gonna start in the back. He got up into the top 5, 4th, 5th, somewhere in that neighborhood, DQ'd post-race tech. They had screws in the left rear wheel. That was a common thing back in the day. So the rule says no bead locks on the left rear, but it doesn't say you can't put screws in the wheel to hold the left rear wheel from spinning. You don't run much air in those late model tires. Ran it all year, right? I talked to Brent. He's like, we ran it all year. Tech guy's fully aware with it. He knew it was there. He's seen it all year. Matthew Larson been in the tech shed every single night, basically, right? And lo and behold, they talked to, was it Darlow there with USRA, and said, we're going to consider that the same as a bead lock. Got to disqualify him. They had him on the phone, DQ'd him. Okay. Well, there's also a couple rules that another driver, it says in there that you cannot have covers on any of your suspension parts. So another driver out there had covers on the coilovers, right, covering the springs. And they're like, well, it says right in the rules, can't have that. And the Larson team was basically told, mind your own business, nothing to see here. They're like, how can you disqualify us for something that's not in the rules, yet you won't disqualify that driver for something that is in the rules? Interesting, right? Sounds like Wisota. So we bang on the Wisota tech guys. This is not just a Wisota problem. This guy's USRA. Then, guys, it says in the USRA rule books, no stick signals allowed. Well, lo and behold, they actually took video footage and camera and took pictures of somebody out there signaling for Cade and all the other classes you can. So he's like, well, shit, I've been signaling, they've been signaling for my dad for years because it's legal, but USRA, it's not. And they're like, nope, we're not disqualifying them. And they're basically like, how can you disqualify us? So your thoughts on selective teching? And I'm a big Daryl Nelson, Cade Nelson guy. Like they're friends. They're my favorite people. But a lot of people are going, oh man, favoritism. This, I mean, you know how that goes. Regardless of who the people are, your thoughts on them DQing driver A for something that's not in the rule book, yet they're absolutely in no way, shape, or form interested in DQing drivers that stuff is in the rule book. Your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, I'm on the record. I mean, I've said this several times on the show. You have to be consistent with teching. If you're going to tech. If you're going to disqualify, if it's in the rules and they're breaking the rules, then you have to make the call on that. You can't just let it go for one driver, but not for the other.
Even if it's a stupid rule, I mean, we might hate some of the rules, but it's like, you just got to be consistent. And I don't want to see anybody get disqualified over ticky-tack bullshit or whatever, but kind of reminds me of a couple years back incident at a track up north where One night they DQ a driver for something that was meaningless. The next night they let a driver go. That had national title implications, no different than this. These drivers are 1-2 in USRA late models, and it's just unfortunate that they got to let the teching, lack of teching kind of get in the way. Just be consistent across the board. That's all we're asking. It's not that complicated. But Kraus, any thoughts on that before we jump on?
Yeah, and be consistent. Again, you're affecting more than just those two guys. You're affecting fans. You're affecting other drivers. You may have people just say, well, I'm not even going to race. Why would I race there? I don't know what they're going to tech, what they're not going to tech. So there's more to it than just the two that you're dealing with, the 8 and the 44. You're dealing with, like I said, you're dealing with a lot of people, car owners, fans, drivers. You have to always look past that. You're affecting a lot of people when you start doing stuff like that.
100%. Number 2, structural buildings, Wisota Late Model Challenge Series champion crowned Wednesday night at the Cedar Lake Speedway, night number 1 of the Wisota 100. Cole Searing he was down by 11 points, I think it was, getting into the night, and front row. Kind of this is what you're looking for, right? Down by 11 points. They have time trials. They get into the heat races. Front row of one of the heats, Cole Searing, Tyler Peterson, your point leader. That's kind of what you want. You want them to go head to head, right? Battle it out. Well, TPO car a little free, did not quite have the drive that he was looking for. Backpedaled a little bit in the heat. Cole Searing stayed right up front in the heat. He starts towards the front of the feature. TPO does not. And at the end of it all, Shane Sabraski wins. Sam Mars second, Cole Searing third. Tyler Peterson come home 9th. Tough night for Tyler Peterson. And Cole Searing ends up winning the Challenge Series by 6 points. Now, Cole Searing, I mean, he doesn't race all that much. He kind of just hits the money shows Challenge Series. But his last 4 years, guys, 2021 Challenge Series champion. 2022, Wisota, I think it was 21-22. One of them he won the national points. The other one he won the Challenge Series. I think 21 he won the national points, and 22 he won the Challenge Series. 23 he wins the Tri-State Late Model Series, and then 24 now again the Challenge Series. And he mentioned earlier in the year, because keep in mind, there was a few nights in South Dakota where they had the tri-state races come in, and he had to make the decision, am I going to stick around here in South Dakota and race for pretty good money at Huron, Aberdeen and such, or am I going to skip my hometown races and go chase the Challenge Series? And he had to make that decision. It paid off, and he said, I like racing for points. I like having a goal in mind. So congratulations, Cole Searing. Tough break for TPO. Both of them had a hell of a year. TPO still having a hell of a year. He's leading the national points right now. But anything stick out on that race, that particular event, the Challenge Series, for you guys Wednesday night at I-94?
Well, I guess I'm probably going to have to talk about it since I was there. I was in attendance, Bert. I finally made my first show of the year of being actually an attendant, not having my car there. So my dad and I drove on up, and thanks to Wisota for the hospitality. They have a promoter tent up there, and free beverages, free food. So kind of a cool deal. Get to hang out with some promoters and watch and sit right in turn one. And basically, Bert, watched Dakota State Green. Sabraski might have lapped the field because he had over a half a track lead, Bert. It wasn't even close. I mean, he was gonzo, absolutely gonzo. But other than that, there wasn't much movement. You know, the track kind of locked down. It rubbered earlier in the night, and then it was rubbered again later. So track wasn't the greatest. Which was a little disappointing because he had a great field of late models, a really good field of late models, and I was kind of hoping for some moving and some shaking. But for the most part, there really wasn't. Mars tried, he tried to get in the top and was moving around a little bit. Some other guys were moving around trying to make it, but like I said, no one was catching the 7A. He had that thing dialed in, and other than that, that was about it. But good to see everybody was watching the 10 and the 33. There was no doubt about it, and Mars and Searing had a great battle for second. Kind of rubber got two lanes there. They battled pretty good, but TPO just really couldn't go anywhere. He really didn't. There was 7, 8, D, and an F. He picked up a couple spots there, but for the most part, he kind of stayed mid-pack. So restarts were a little bit interesting there. Everybody was kind of hoping TPO. Everybody was watching, 33 to see or the one TPO where he was 33 this weekend. But congrats to steering on I know he was pretty nervous about it. They were interviewing him, and this is TPO's race to lose and this and that. And we all, Brian, Cole too. I know he was nervous and wanted to do it. So it's a good kid, good guy, and was glad to see him get the Challenge Series win.
Yeah, it was, and quite honestly, it was the worst of the 4 nights of racing, but you can't blame that. They were both front row in the heat race, and they both had the opportunity, so you can't really blame the track. It is what it is. But yeah, Cole steering a hell of a season, and I'd like to see that kid race a little bit more. I understand why he doesn't, but he'd be right there in the mix with them guys for a natty if he just kind of wick it up a little bit and run a few more shows. All right, guys, number 1, the biggest show in the area of the weekend, the Wisota 100, and the A-mains. I'll recap that in a few minutes here, but why don't you guys give me, I had somebody say, what are some of your bigger takes, good, bad, indifferent, whatever it may be, from the Wisota 100 I-94 Speedway this past weekend? What stuck out to you guys? Bert, let's start with you. From what you saw, right, and kind of paid attention to online, whatever it may be, what are some things that stuck out to you from the Wisota 100 this year?
Well, I didn't watch any of the first couple of nights of it, but just based on chatter online and stuff, it seemed like the track wasn't. It was like an asphalt track. Is that a fair thing to say?
The first couple nights they struggled. The first couple nights they struggled.
So when I tuned in Saturday night, I was kind of expecting to see that, but actually the track looked pretty good on Saturday. From what I could tell, it was decent racing.
We were in our group chat and there was people saying, man, I didn't know they went back to pavement over at I-94. I know it used to be paved. I don't know if they stuck with that or not. And there was a lot of drivers, lots. I mean, that one kind of stuck out because he did it in Victory Lane or whatever, but there was a lot of drivers pretty vocal on social media after the first couple nights. And they're like, got all this equipment here. You got to work on the track. And they did. I mean, it got better. The racing was better as the week progressed, but the first couple nights was not good. But what else stuck out?
Well, I know they do the 3 wide starts. Have they always done the 3 wide starts where they don't start the race until actually after the flag stand?
I think when they initially started that, Kraus, correct me if I'm wrong, they started coming off 4, didn't they? Or did they always kind of delay it till part way out onto the straightaway? Or did they start them like USMTS does and Green Go Racing? I don't remember if they did that or not.
But they might as well just do what F1 does and start from a standstill the way it was on Saturday. Well, Huron, it started in Huron through the 3 wide deal. Completely different ball game there because you'd almost, where the Huron start zone was there was almost past the entrance or the exit there. So you already kind of had some cars on the straightaway. But there was a bunch of talk, a bunch of promoters / drivers were complaining about the 3 wide starts. Everybody crashes, blah, blah, blah. So they weren't going to do it, but everybody wanted to keep it because you can't start 33. What's 33 divided by 2, Bert? You got Wisconsin math over there?
That would be 16 and a half, sir.
16 and a half rows of cars. Well, that'd be half the damn track. I mean, you might as well start in Fargo and then the other half would start in Fergus. Would basically be what it would be about. So you couldn't.
That's what they did anyway. That's what they did anyway, right? Because they literally have the rule that if you don't complete 1 lap, they go double file, which is stupid, right? Just go 3 wide. But yeah, so they basically did that anyway. Half the races started 2 wide, 16 cars deep.
Because when I tuned in, the first feature that I saw where I saw the start, they're coming around 4. I thought they were going to start, and then they're still going really slow. They must be taking another pace lap. Then all of a sudden, the green comes out, and they all take off.
It's honestly, in my opinion, right? Everybody's got their own, but my opinion, it's embarrassing, right? I look at it in my mind as whoever made that decision, whether it's the track promoter or Wisota or whoever it may be, they obviously don't think very highly of the Wisota racers. They just don't. Because there's other series several of them that start 3 wide. They start in 3 and 4, just like any other normal race. You're on the pump. It's exciting. It's fun. And they're doing this deal because they're like, well, they might crash. They might bang it. It's embarrassing. Like I look at it, if I was a driver, I'd be like, what are we doing here? And I get it, because there has been a couple of years where the bottom was straight slime to start those races, and they piled shit up. Well, that ain't the driver's fault. Have the track ready to go, right? So as long as the track's ready, just start 3 wide, a real 3 wide start. That would be an exciting deal, but the way they do it is, I don't know. I don't like it. Kraus?
Here's another interesting fact. I didn't know this. My cousin Johnny actually brought this up to me today. You go back and watch the videos, Ryan. Guess what place the pole sitter was in all 5 classes coming out of turn 2? Guess what place he was in?
Third?
He was in third place coming out of turn 2. Because you're dead in the water there. You can't set the pace now. That's the advantage of being on the pole at the Wisota 100. You know what I mean? You set the pace. I started. You get advantage 3 wide. Here you didn't have nothing. You're going half speed into turn 1 on the bottom. You're screwed. You got no chance of leading that race. So not only did it look bad, you also screwed the pole sitter.
Yeah, and winning. I mean, you know as well as I do. Pretty much everybody's there night 1. That is the toughest night to win. And if they're going to do that, what's your thoughts on this? If they're going to, which I hope they don't, but if they stick with it this way, what's your thoughts on if you win night 1, you get lane choice?
Well, if they stick with this, you almost have to. I mean, you're going to say, hey, I want to start here. I want to start there. You have to. That's the whole point about winning that Wednesday. And that's why I was so pumped when I won that Wednesday a few years ago. I get to set the pace coming down the backstretch, getting in the turn, and I get to fire first. That's a big deal at these big shows.
Yeah, it sure can be, but unfortunately it was not here. Bert, anything else stick out to you other than 3 wide starts, track prep? What else?
I mean, I thought the late model feature was fun to watch. If we're getting into the racing action, I thought that was of the features I saw, I thought that was the best one. But I didn't see this. I didn't see the street stock feature. So
yeah, let's touch on the late model feature a little bit. We'll come back to some other stuff here. So of course your winner, and that's all he does is win big money races in the late model. Apparently, Shane Sabraski. I mean, guys, he's won over 66,000 in 5 races in Wisota racing. He won the Wasilewski Memorial. He won the XR Super Series or XR Northern Storm event in the late and the mod in Ashland, the border battle for 10 grand. And then he cashes in another 10,000 to win late model show here. So he wins it. Mike Gresseth, right? So now keep in mind, Wednesday, the top 8's locked in inside row. Tuesday or Thursday, the top 8 is the outside row. Friday, the top 8 is the middle row, right? Well, Mike Gresseth said, one and done. I'm coming there on Friday. I'm not racing Wednesday. I'm not racing Thursday. I'm not doing it. I'm going to come there Friday. And if I can get in on Friday, great. If not, call it a day, drink some beer, go home, whatever it is, what it is. Well, he shows up on Friday, races only Friday, Saturday. He gets second. So that's a hell of a run. That's a good deal there for Mike Gresseth, who won the prelim. He won that prelim on Friday from 11th in a photo finish there with Kevin Burdick. So good for him. And then Ryan Michelson, boy, I was scratching my head after night 1. So Ryan Michelson, very good over at I-94. I think that was his first time there this year. It's kind of an Alexandria guy, but his closest track is there. And he mainly just ran the Challenge Series this year. Well, guys, he got 10th on night 1 at the Challenge Series, and a couple of those drivers said, you know what, I'm going to let my spot go, try to get a better spot. So he locked himself in to a 19th place starting position on night 1. I'm texting with Kraus. I'm like, is he lost his fucking mind? Like, what is he doing? He's starting 19th, right? Why would you do that? Well, he's like, I got to work. I got shit to, whatever. Guys, he actually went 19th to 3rd. That's impressive. That's a hell of a race right there. So prove me wrong, right? I thought for sure, you're going to be screwed. You ain't even going to sniff the top 5. Well, he got himself up on the podium. Great run there for Ryan Michelson. Sam Mars, 4th, and then Kevin Burdick with another much-needed top 5 finish in the invitational time. Good for him. But I do have a couple. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say the most fun driver to watch though was it Gross? Is that his last
Yes.
name?
Yes.
He was driving like RTJ was at Fairbury. He was bouncing that car off the wall, and I had sent a text to everybody in our group text with like 12 laps to go, and I said, "There's no way that car is going to last until the end of the race." And sure enough, he bounced one too many times. I think he had a right rear tire go down.
I'm going to call Lee Gross an unrefined Bobby Pierce, right? Because a couple years back, Bobby Pierce on the chip. I mean, just wide open, fun to watch, and something would happen. Lo and behold, he'd smack the fence, jump the cushion, whatever it may be. Shit was going to get crazy. And that's kind of where Lee is a little bit right now. But you're right. I mean, as far as entertainment value goes, I'd say out of the late model drivers this past weekend, I probably caught myself watching him more than any other late model guy out there. I mean, he has the speed. He's super fast. And I think is he a rookie this year in the late model or second year? I think he's a rookie, isn't he? Pretty sure he's a rookie. He ran a mod last year. So he ran a sprint car, and that's kind of his sprint car deal. You're on the chip, right? So he kind of drives like a sprint car driver. But keep an eye on him over the next couple of years here. Lee Gross is a guy that very, very possibly could be one of the up and coming contenders here to win a pile of races. So very good point there. Now, I got a question for both you, and this one I had several people reach out. Did Mike Gresseth, as good as he did with that podium finish, second place, did he get hosed? So there was an instant where he was, and I went back and I looked, and a couple other people I talked to, we looked, and to me it looked like he led 2.5 laps. It looked like he was ahead at the line, come back around. He's ahead at the line, come back around. Then there was a yellow. And I don't know. When I looked at that, he led a couple laps. Yellow comes out. They put him back, didn't give him the lead. Sabraski goes on to win. Prouse is shaking his head. Did you go back and you watch that?
I did. I watched it multiple times. Lee Gross broke his J-bar, Bert.
Yeah.
That's technically what happened. So just wanted to give you a heads up on that. So so I went back and watched. So the camera did not catch the initial pass, Ryan. Did you notice that with Gross and who would have been, who was it at the time?
Sabraski.
They didn't catch that. Or when Gresseth passed Gross, sorry.
Yeah.
That wasn't on camera. So I was watching the video. I'm like, hold on here a sec. Let's use my head. Let's go back to my laps or go back to race monitor, or whatever they're using, my lap or my race pass these days. He did not lead that lap when they showed the camera and he was leading in 1 and 2. 0.002.
Behind
Gross,
who though?
Gross had the lead. Gresseth did not.
But Gross broke. So Gross wasn't even on the track, right?
No. Hold on a sec. This was back lap. Okay.
Okay.
So when Gresseth passed Gross over in 1 and 2, okay, he's still not the leader yet till he crosses the line. Okay. So they went around. He led that lap. Okay. Now you got to complete another lap. But I don't know when the yellow came out. Did you notice that? I don't know if they counted that lap or they didn't count that lap. I went back to my race pass. They obviously didn't count that lap. So technically, he never led a scored completed lap. Even though everybody thought he led 2, he actually didn't. So unless the yellow came out after he crossed the line, then yes, he would have gone back to the previous lap and he would have led that lap. Catch my drift? So I don't know. I'm going to give them the benefit of doubt. They got live scoring. They did it right away. I mean, they came from everything I heard. They said right across the receiver what it was. So it was, like I said, if he would have led 0.02 if he would have led that lap, yeah, then he would have had the lead. So super tough deal. Like I said today, there's pretty much Wisota people running the deal. They should be pretty unbiased and making the right call. So I watched it a bunch. Compared it with my race pass, I think the right call was made personally.
Yeah, I guess I never thought about looking at live timing there. And, that don't lie. That's the scoring loop, and it is what it is. I mean, from the eye test, it looked like it. And I'm like, man, oh, man, I think so. But looking at the live timing, well, there's your explanation for those several people reached out on that one. There's your explanation. Thanks, Coach, for that one. Hardest wreck of the weekend. Holy shit. did Johnny Broking hit Colin Hibden. Flashbacks, 2008. I had a similar deal happen. We'll talk about that in a sec. But incidentally, they're running inside the top 10. Hibden was inside the top 10. Johnny was right around that 8, 9, somewhere around the top 10. And Colin Hibden breaks going down the front straightaway, and he's tucked up, doing what he had to do. He's right up against the fence, as far out of the way as he can. Now, he kind of coasted all the way down the front straightaway. Now, should they have maybe jumped to a yellow flag a little quicker, knowing that he was broke? Probably save some wreck race cars. I think so. Hindsight's 2020, right? I wouldn't want that job. It is what it is. But he rolls down the front straightaway. He's tucked up against the wall, and first car to go by him is Burdick, and Burdick just about got into him. He kind of turned down, and Johnny was right behind Provenzino. Might have been vice versa. Provenzino and Burdick were back and forth, but Johnny was tucked right up behind one of them guys, and they're coming into one, right? And when you're coming into one, Johnny was roasting the top, and the car right ahead of him literally turned down to kind of arc it to the bottom, and there's Colin Hibden parked. It's like, oh my God. He's like, I didn't even lift until I hit him. He goes, I hit the brakes about the same time I hit him. It was wide open, tore the 4-bar mounts right off the frame. He's like, car's more than likely junk. I mean, it's obviously going to go back, but fortunately nobody got hurt in that deal. But holy shit, was that violent. That was one of the hardest hits I've seen all year. And you guys see, Bert, you were watching, you saw that one too,
Yep.
didn't you?
Yep.
Yeah, so 2008, I was in Ashland. I thought I killed my good remote because I was running, I don't know, mid-pack or whatever, in a spot good enough to win the Como Mod Series at the time because Daryl Nelson broke, which gave me the lead, and all I had to do was beat Utinan. And I'm kind of roasting the top, and Kelly Estee Lodiger, they're rolling up and coming back down, and I come off of turn 4, and bam, they quickly turn down, and there's my good remote parked underneath the flag man. This is before receivers, and I sent them barrel rolling down the front straightaway from the impact, and it folded my frame horn under the car, and it ripped the motor mounts right off the block. I mean, it disintegrated in the front of my car. I was black and blue on my chest from the seatbelts. I literally got out of the car. I ran over to him. I'm like, I thought I killed him. His back is still fucked up to this day. So sorry, Mike, for that one. I did not see him, but I feel Johnny's pain on that. And Kraus, you ever had an incident like that where you just tucked up behind somebody and next thing you know, they turn down and holy shit, there's a car there and you have nowhere to go? You ever had that happen?
Yeah, it was I remember a few years ago, remember when I smoked Sparby when he jumped the cushion up over there, and luckily I pitched it sideways and I hit him with my rear end, but I ripped the weight jack right out of my car and stuff like that. So it's, especially these days, it's, you know, it's, say what you want about the droop rule with all these spoilers sitting up, you know, it's, I remember when Jason Tennis hopped in my super stock, he's like, holy smokes, I can see everybody in front of me and I can see the whole track. When you're, you know how it is, you drove a late model, Ryan, when you're right behind somebody, all you see is spoiler. You don't see anything. You don't see the stands. You don't see the wall. You don't see, all you see is spoiler. You know, at least when back in the day when we would have spoilers in the supers, you could see everything. You could see right through the driver's cockpit. You could read, Bert, I could read the guy's gauges in front of me in a super stock, you know? So especially those late models, they're all jacked up and it's super hard to see. So it's a tough deal. You got to be alert and, you know, like I said, it's sometimes, you know, you got to make sure you get help from the flag man too in those situations. Tracks that got walls, there's nowhere to go. When a car's up on the wall, there is nowhere to go. You're better off throwing a quick yellow just in case.
Yeah, I don't mean to dunk on the flag man, but I got to be honest, that's on him. Because that car, it was clear that he was broke, and it should have been yellow over the receiver, and that would have avoided that whole situation. So learning experience for flag guys out there, track promoters watching that. Go back if you didn't see it, watch that. When there's a car broke down, we talk about it in Lucas Oil and World of Outlaws. All of a sudden you see a guy kind of slowing down. It's like, well, holy shit, what did they throw in the yellow? The guy could get off the track. Well, that right there is exactly why they throw the yellow. That is exactly why they do that. So, Bert, anything else, or Kraus, either one of you, anything else from the Wisota 100 that you guys might have?
Are you going to I think is the DQ report next?
Oh,
We're gonna save that for fan feedback.
'Cause
We
I-
do have, yeah.
I'm kind of, I could use a dilly bar or a blizzard or I could use something from, I was sponsored by Dairy Queen, never got DQ'd. So
yeah, I was
like
too.
I said,
DQ,
I don't know.
Shout out Craig, right? Shout out Craig, DQ South, DQ Grill and Chill. Yep. But we'll get to that. Abnormal amount of DQs, but a couple of the crowd. Here's a question for you guys. So Wednesday, pretty light. Thursday, pretty light. I mean, Cedar was light the whole time. The crowd at Cedar was awful. It just is what it is. It's painful to see. It's very discouraging. The crowd on Saturday though was good. I guess it was almost a record crowd. So the crowd Saturday was excellent. Could they get rid of a day? Could they just get rid of Wednesday, do Thursday, Friday, Saturday?
I mean, you definitely could, especially with the economy this day and age. 3-4 days is a lot on a family. Just 2 people, you know what I mean? I was like, even me to go up there, if it was just me and my dad or me and my wife or somebody just to go, you can't afford it. And I think that's why Saturday was so big and the rest of the days were down. That has to do with everything with the economy. And obviously with the parking gong show up there too. For the fans, they got to get figured out too. But the way the economy is this day and age, I think you should maybe drop your prices down a little bit Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. That would be a start to try to, because an empty seat costs you money. So let's put some butts in the seats that day, and then Saturday is obviously going to be the big day. But you got to concentrate on the other days too, because that's income.
I'd be curious to see the financials of how they do, right? On Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Saturday, of course, the crowd was great. That's when they pay out all the big money is on Saturday. Maybe financially they still come out okay because it's pretty minimal purse for of course they do have the Challenge Series. But it'd be interesting to see. Another thing here, speaking of you're there all week. Bert, you have anything on the crowd or no?
well, I was just I had sent this copy of this Facebook post to you guys. I don't know if you saw it. Somebody mentioned the parking for the event, but then also and I don't know if this is the case. I mean, maybe you guys know, leaving blankets on seats. They took the blankets off on Saturday. So if you were there the previous days, you couldn't put your blankets down until 2:00 or 3:00 that afternoon on Saturday. And people are complaining about that.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I can see both sides of it, right? I don't know if they have reserve seating or not for the 100. I guess I'm not sure they do. But I can see both sides of it, right? If you're a fan that you're like, well, holy shit, I literally been here all week. I spent Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday here. I can see where they think in their mind that, hey, I mean, if I spent all week here and I spent way more money than the people coming just one night, I should kind of get a better opportunity to have a good seat. I get it. I see the other side of it, reserve seating. I don't know if they had blankets down and reserve seats or not. I don't know the whole situation there, but I mean, a lot of these events are going to just strictly reserve seating. Maybe go reserve seating on the front stretch and general admission on the back stretch, or I don't know what the answer is to that, but I did see that, and yeah, I guess I don't know what's right or wrong in that one. Kraus, speaking of being there all week, still don't like what they do on Saturday with the LCQs. I get they want to kind of rush the show along, but holy shit, you're there all freaking day anyway, right? So I mean, you got a 2 hour basically intermission for the Parade of Champions. So Bert, I don't know if you knew this, but the LCQ in each class on Saturday is accumulated points from Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Okay. So what they do is they take the top 16 in points, accumulated points that are not in the show, and they're the drivers that are in the LCQ. Everybody else goes home. I don't like that, right? I'm kind of a guy that I'm like, if you've been there all week or whatever, if you've been there one day, you have an opportunity to race your way in on Saturday. And some of these drivers, it's like, man, they had tough break, tough luck. I mean, things happen or whatever. And basically, sorry, not sorry, go home. I don't know. It feels to me like there's plenty enough time where they could shuffle stuff around and give everybody an opportunity to run a B main, LCQ, whatever you want to call it, on Saturday. Your guys' thoughts?
Coach, I'll let you go.
No, you're 100% Ryan. And the flip side is there's only 14 modifieds that started the LCQ because 2 guys DNS'd. And I don't know, you would think protocol would be, make sure you come tell us, okay, we can get the next 2 guys in points in that race, okay? Because, you have to do it after the lucky draw, because the lineups changed, because, Buzzy was in the LCQ, he took the lucky draw, which you're going to do, because you're automatically in, and all of a sudden they got to fill somebody else in there, and then you only take 16, and here's the other thing, how many cars actually probably loaded up and went home? They didn't think they were going to be there Saturday. And all of a sudden you got 3 lucky draw cars. You got 3 guys that scratch. You're the next guy in points and you're sitting at home. You know what I mean? So they got to redo that. And you're only talking some classes. It's only a couple cars. Some, the Midwest mods. Yeah, you're getting into 24 plus 16s, 40. I mean, you're 50, you're getting into 40. I mean, you're getting into 30 some cars. Run two Bs at 12 laps. You know what I mean? It's not that big a deal. Plus, you give everybody another opportunity to get in the feature. That's the big thing. You have to have that last chance. That's what a last chance qualifier is. You sit there all week, you spend all that money, and you don't even get another chance on Saturday to race. So they got to do something about that and change that format.
I agree. Now, I will say this, the Wisota 100 did have trophies for their drivers. Even the qualifying features, they had trophies for their drivers, right? If I could nitpick on something, it would be the rushing things along, right? And what I mean by that is I'm all about giving people their props. You win an LCQ, you win a heat, hey, quick interview or whatever. But they were so quick trying to rush people through that watching it online, they'd be interviewing a driver quickly, just a quick little couple question interview, and half the time you couldn't hear it, the mic issue. But I mean, that happens. I mean, that shouldn't happen. It's a Wisota 100. They should be better prepared than that. But they're interviewing the drivers, and next thing you know, they break away from the interview. The next race has already started. And they're not even like no drivers announcements, like who's the starting lineup, none of that, right? It literally went from driver interviewing the driver that won a race to bam, they're like halfway through lap number 1 in the next race. And I get they're trying to be cognizant of time, but I feel like there's a lot better way they could do that. And give people their props, but some of the drivers that aren't winning, they still deserve their props, at least in the drivers' intros, right? So I didn't really like that. I feel like they could have maybe did that a little bit better. One of the things I thought was pretty cool, I got to admit that between 2 turns, a couple of them were pretty funny. I don't know who came up with that idea, but Kyle Hall, the first one I saw was him and Nick Trainer. And Bert, did you see those? Did you see the one?
No, I did not see those.
So you've seen the between 2 ferns with Zach Galifianakis, right?
Uh-huh.
So they did between 2 turns with Kyle Hall, right? And he's got Nick Trainer down there, and he's like, I don't know exactly wording, but paraphrasing, he's like, hey, I got a question for you, Nick. Can I get a loan? Will you borrow me $30,000? I'm like, wow. And they kind of, he's like, why? Do you want to get suntan lotion? Well, and they kind of went back and forth. And then Buzzy was late one night at the scales, and he's like, well, you're probably not going to be, what are you going to do tonight? I'm probably drinking beer. And he's like, oh, what are you going to drink? Bud Light, Coors Light, Miller Light. Right. And he's like, oh, I see what you're doing here. So they had some fun with it. A lot of people didn't even know they did it. So I don't know how to get the word out, the social media stuff, but I thought that was pretty cool. I got to give them props on that. And they did have contingency awards, Kraus. They did have contingency awards, and we got to give props. I mean, quite honestly, it wasn't the Wisota board that did that. Not banging on the Wisota board here, but one of the promoters there, good old James Trantina, I got to give him props because he took it upon himself and he said, look, We want to have contingency awards. We want to have this be a great deal. And he made a ton of phone calls and called sponsors and raised a bunch of money. And they had a shit ton of giveaways for the drivers and stuff in Victory Lane. And as far as I know, there might have been more people involved, but as far as I know, that was all spearheaded by James Trantina from Granite City Motor Park. So got to give him props for that. That was very, very much appreciated by the racers. They talked about that a little bit. So good job on that, James. All right. So a little recap on the finals here. Late model, we talked about it. Shane Sabraski with the win. We talked about that already. Modifieds. That was a final race of the night. The modifieds, they didn't farm it really before that one. It did take a little bit of rubber, but there was still a good race up front at the end. Dan Ebert holding off Landon Atkinson. Atkinson tried a couple sliders there. Pretty good finish. Pretty good race. Eishen's third. Brady Gertis fourth. Dave Kane rounding out your top five. Congrats to Dan Ebert on that. Super stocks. Boy, I tell you what, Dexton Cook was absolutely in his own zip code. I mean, he was absolutely in full kill mode. First ever Wisota 100 win. He's won prelims, but boy, I tell you what, that about capped off a national championship right there. Congrats, Dexton Cook. Shane Sabraski second. But third and fourth was kind of the ones that were kind of movers and shakers. Ryan Kostreba with a really good run, 16th up into the podium with a third place finish. It's a hell of a run right there with a stout field of cars. Austin Niemeyer, who's kind of been quiet here the past couple of years, 12th to 4th for him. So both of those two drivers passing a ton of cars to get up in the top four, and Sasquatch Timmy Johnson getting fifth. Anything stick out to either one of you two on either the mod or the Superstock A main? Other than that, Midwest mods is where things got a little interesting. So congratulations to your eventual feature winner here, Blake Adams. So Blake Adams first, Cole Elton second, Nate Ranke third. Now, Nate Ranke, your track champion over there, he was my pick to win it. Not quite as good as I thought he was going to be, but he was solid. That was your official first, second, and third. Cole Elton, by the way, pretty impressive as far as BMOD guys go. He showed a lot of speed. He won one of the prelims, and it was his first ever win. In fact, Lee Gross, he won a prelim. I think that was his first ever late model win, wasn't it? I'm pretty sure. But I know Cole Elton, his first ever Midwest mod win was a prelim. And that was he legit looked fast. That's the best I've seen him. So congrats to him. But here's where it gets a little dicey. So your winner, unofficially, was the Nightmare Lucas Rodin. Second was Blake Adams. Third, Matt Scow. And they go to the toll booth there to come in and take your money and kind of send you away unhappy. They check the bar angles, and Lucas Rodin, Matt Scow both disqualified at pre-race tech. That's painful. Now, from what I understand, both of them were about a degree and a half off on the left. From what I heard, it was 6.5. So the rule is on the Midwest mods is your left rear arm can be and your right rear arm have to be within 5 degrees of each other. So let's say you have 10 degrees in your left rear lower arm and you can have 5 or 15 on the right rear. They got to be within 5. Well, he was 6.5 degrees different. Now, man, I had a lot of people reach, oh, this is a bullshit rule. It's stupid. I kind of like the rule because it simplifies the class a little bit. It's kind of a set it and forget it. But Kraus, you know enough about racing. There's a lot of reasons why this could have happened. I tried to reach out to Lucas. He was busy with family. He's going to call me, so I'll have a follow-up to see if he found why. But I had people reaching out going, oh, man, these guys been cheating all year. Okay, first of all, fuck off. Okay, they haven't been cheating all year. All right, let's just be honest. It's 1.5 degrees on a bar angle. What are some things that can make it 1.5 degrees? Well, your left rear, you might have ran less stagger. You might have ran, your right rear tire might have been going low. You might have put more gas pressure in the left rear shock. You could have bent a left rear shock. You could have put more bite in the car, right? So there's a lot of different reasons, fuel burn off. There's a lot of reasons that could very easily change 1.5 degrees in your left rear lower bar. Well, at the end of the day, it sucks, right? I'm a big Lucas Rodin guy. I mean, I like him. He's good people and he's a hell of a race car driver, but Didn't Brock Grunwald get DQ'd for that winning the 100? I don't know if it was the length of the bar or the angle of the bar, but what was it? 3-4 years ago, he got DQ'd at Fergus for doing the same thing. So it's a rule. I kind of put it like the deck height rule in the late models, right? Most people are like, it's an unnecessary rule. It's stupid. And when it first came out, there was all kinds of DQs, right? And now people eventually realize, well, hey, we just got to set our deck lower at ride height, and it is what it is. And my guess is they just overlooked something. As far as I know, there was no like they measured it wrong or anything like that. I don't think. But first, they're not cheaters. It's just an oversight deal. It's no different than, oh shit, I was light, right? I mean, it is what it is. But man, that's a painful one right there. The Wisota 100, you win it, you're DQ'd. Your thoughts on this whole deal there, Kraus? I mean, good, bad. I mean, is this the right thing to do? Do they kind of have to go with the DQ there? I mean,
well, I mean, the rule's a rule. I get that. It sucks that it's kind of a ticky-tacky rule, you know. Mm-hmm. Nick Traynor lost 30 grand for a legit reason. You know what I mean? He was really, really illegal. You know, and all of a sudden you get a couple guys here with some bar angles. And like I said, not Ryan, we've talked about this. I get the rules and I get this and that. And I get why they do that. But it's just a super, super tough rule to get DQ'd for and lose the Wisota 100. That's my big take on it. Ryan, we know for a fact there's way more other people cheating, way more than just their bar angles out there that are winning and taking money from Wisota. And we gotta sit here and watch a couple you know, hard-working Midwest mod guys lose their stuff. So that's my take on that. I get it. Hey, it's a rule. I'm sure they're caught, you know, those tech guys are caught between a rock and a hard place. And there's 8 tech guys down there. And I'm sure they're saying, some I'm saying no. And some are saying yes. And it's a problem with having so many tech guys down there and still not one guy in charge making the final decision. But just a tough deal. It just sucks. It sucks all the way around for everybody.
So yeah, tough break there for Rodin and Scow. They had great runs, but it just ended up unfortunate situation. And yeah, I guess it is what it is. Street Stock's probably the best race of the night. Street Stock feature, in my opinion, was fantastic. A lot of cars kind of cooked their motor. She was pretty grippy. They farmed it before the Street Stock feature, and there's a few of them that kind of overheating problems. I know Braden Brower was running really good, and he ended up DNFing. But brother Colton Brower, younger brother, trying to notch his way into second in the national points. He's close, but he gets it done. Jimmy Gullickson second, Jeff Ekdahl third, Colby Keel fourth, and Paul Gresseth with another good run after doubling up at the sites. He got in the top 5. But the story here was really in the closing lap. So inside of 5 to go, maybe 3 to go, something like that. Colton Brower's fading a little bit. Looks like, he's kind of a sitting duck here. Here comes Cody Coomer and Ty Agan, your Wisconsin contingent. Agan rolling the bottom, Coomer kind of rolling the middle, Brower kind of rolling middle up, and they about try to make it 3 wide in 1 and 2. And long story short, Coomer and Agan get together and all hell breaks loose. And it's a racing deal. I mean, depending on who you ask, this guy came down, he came up, he plugged the hole. Racing deal. They're all racing to try to win the Wisota 100. And they get together. Coomer ends up kind of turned the wrong way. Vogel has nowhere to go. Peels the whole side of his car off. He gets wrecked. And literally 3 of the top 5 cars out. Coomer with 2 flats. Agan goes to the back. And now Colton Brower sitting there going, shit, them guys were coming. They ain't coming no more. So Colton Brower off into the sunset. Unfortunate situation for Coomer, Agan, and Vogel, who all had really good race cars there. And second place ended up being Nick Traynor. And he got a DQ gift certificate at the tech shed as well. And I'm like, man, what did he get DQ'd for? It ended up being mounts on the rear end housing. And there's all kinds of rumors going around. I know some Wisota techs are like, it was 1 1/4 inch off. It was not 1 1/4 inch off. Okay. They don't know how to fucking read a tape measure. It was 1/4 inch off. Okay. I know how they measure it. Kraus is shaking his head. He wasn't there. I saw fucking pictures.
You didn't see pictures of nothing because you didn't. Yeah. Here's what I do, Bert. When stuff like this happens, I call the actual guy that measured it and did it. It was 1 1/4 inch.
It was
Inch
an
and a
inch and a
quarter.
quarter because the mounts are literally a foot apart on top of the housing. And they took a straight edge across the top of the holes. And they literally, if you have it a quarter inch higher, this far apart,
They
right? A
ran
foot
bolts
apart.
through the holes, Ryan.
Yes. And they put a straight edge across the bolt and they measured in the middle of the axle tube. Well, the fucking straight edge is sitting at an angle, which is going to make it an inch and a quarter, 4 feet apart. That's
Don't
exactly
listen,
what
Bert.
they did.
Bert, he doesn't know what he's talking about. Although he just talked about getting a concussion, rear-ending some guy in 2008 in Ashland. I still think he's got CTE effects from that concussion.
So first of all, I can actually send you the picture because I have the picture from the car, right? And the left rear upper mount was higher. Now, again, it's a rule, got to disqualify him. I don't dispute that. Whether it's a quarter inch off or an inch and a quarter off, the rule says they have to be the same height. That's the rule. Tough break, got to be disqualified. But the fact is, here's the part that sucks. The left rear mount on the upper was higher. Okay? That's the opposite of what you would do. That would be, you wouldn't run that high. You wouldn't put less angle in your left rear upper bar. You'd put more angle if you were trying to cheat. So it was just, I don't know who made the mistake. He claims on Facebook. I mean, let's face it. I mean, he drives for somebody. Nick Trainer don't work on that car. It's not his car. He just drives it. Another guy owns it. It's factory 43 medieval chassis or whatever. Well, they talked to Medieval and they're like, yeah, we just screwed up on the mount. But regardless of what the tech guy tells Kraus, at the actual measurement, it was a quarter inch higher. The way that they measured it with a straight edge 4 feet apart, it amplified it. It's no different than measuring wheelbase. The further out you measure it, the more it's going to be different. But either way, it was illegal. But man, it really sucks to get disqualified for the bar angle, and more bar angle in the left rear can be a little bit of an advantage, but less bar angle in the left rear upper bar on a street stock is a disadvantage. To get disqualified for something that's an actual disadvantage in your car, that sucks even worse. So, boy, rough year there for Nick Trainer with a couple DQs. But yeah, I saw actual photos. I talked to Nick Trainer today, and he actually sent me pictures, and at the actual hole, it was not an inch and a quarter higher. So that was a tech guys being tech guys and trying to justify, which again, I'm not banging on the tech guy because the rule states they have to be the same height. They were not the same height. By rule, that's illegal. I mean, it sucks, but it is what it is. So, but the street stocks was a good race. And I will say this, as bad as the racetrack was, and there was a ton of people bitching after the first 2 nights, I feel like Friday night got a little better. Saturday night was better. I talked to some people that were very unbiased, just race fans over there, and they said, hey, I was there Saturday night. I thought it was a good show. They had a good time. They said they're going back next year. So overall, a pretty good deal. But we're going to start our fan feedback off with a question from Josh. But first, a shout out to Hard Charger Performance Specialties. That's Nick Hoff out in Sydney, Montana. Nick's been building engines for over 20 years. He does gears. He has a dyno over there. He's the certified crate engine repairer for Wisota. I've had a lot of success with Nick. In fact, I'm not afraid to put my money where my mouth is. First 3 new customers he gets next year for 2025. I'll throw in $100 for each of their first 5 feature wins, $100 a feature. So I'll try to help Nick get him some business over there. But you can get a hold of Nick, 406-478-4437. Don't let the distance scare you. It doesn't matter if you're Minnesota, Wisconsin, whatever it may be. He builds engines. He can ship. He's over in Minnesota. He's got family up in northern Minnesota. So he'd be a good guy to reach out to get your season on track to start 2025. Hard Charger Performance Specialties. So Josh actually sent me this one. He says, was that an abnormal amount? We're talking about DQs. Was that an abnormal amount of DQs? There was 21, I counted, disqualifications at the Wisota 100. Now, some of them were light, and there's a variety of different stuff. But 21 drivers disqualified at the Wisota 100. And I'm looking at that, and his question was, is this ticky-tack? Is this nitpicking? Do the local tech guys not tech? Like, why on earth is there 21 disqualifications at the Wisota 100? Kraus?
Well, there's your first point was when you brought up is local teching during the year. Okay. You got to make sure they're doing their job. And I know, fortunate enough, we got some good tech guys in our area, Gene and Tom. And, the last couple nights at Viking was like, hey, here's what we're checking up at the 100. And they were checking guys, and they actually told a couple of guys, hey, you better get this fixed before the 100, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? We're going to be checking this up there. So he's doing their job. And at the end of the day, you're helping the driver there, saying, hey, do this, do that, do this. So, I think that's one point, doing your job during the year. But my take on that matter is the Wisota 100 should be the least race, should have the least amount of DQs at the race by the time the end of the year rolls around. It shouldn't be the most. There's no rhyme or reason why that should be the most. It should be the least amount of DQs at that race. Tech guys, do your job. And if you're more nitpicky during the year and get to the point where drivers, this is serious. You know what I mean? You get to the 100, so that's my take on that. Way too many DQs. I get it. They nitpicked all year. You nitpick all year, everything should be nitpicked away, and you shouldn't have to nitpick at the 100. So tough deal seeing all those DQs. Sucks for everybody, but make sure drivers go ask tech guys, ask the committee. All their numbers are online. You know what I mean? Do your part too, so you don't get to the track and say, well what the hell? What happened? It's your race car. Okay, it's your job to make sure it's legal. So make sure you do your part, and the tech guys will help. But local tech guys, you got to do your job as well too. So it sucks. There should not be that many DQs at the Wisota 100.
Well, there's a couple things that stuck out. So I had a lot of, and let's face it. I mean, I know some of these tech guys, and they can't read a tape measure. Some of them are better than others. I mean, it just is what it is, right? Some of them can't bend over to read a tape measure, so there's that too, right? But some of the drivers overlooked things also. So it's not, it is what it is. But I have problems with shit like this, okay? Street stocks have a rule. 2.5 turns lock to lock, okay? And I get it. I understand the rule. I think we can all agree that the purpose of the rule is so you don't have a quicker box, quick steer. You're not trying to speed up your steering, right? Well, a guy drives all the way over from Montana, wins his heat race. They check it, they DQ him, said it's just shy of 2.5 turns, you're DQ'd. He's like, well, that's fucking weird. I've been teched multiple times. They actually checked this at my tracks. Why is it? So in my mind, right, all you're checking here is how quick is the box. That's all from the steering box to the steering wheel, you're trying to make sure that you're not cheating and getting quicker steering. Well, you got to drop the drag link. Drop the drag link from the pitman arm, turn it all the way to the left, turn it to the right, literally count it. If it's 2.5 or more turns, you're good. They refused to do that. Well, it turned out that he had an issue with the right front. There was a tie rod issue. It was bound up. It would not turn all the way to the right. So it wasn't that it was steering quickener. It just wasn't steering all the way. So he gets frickin' disqualified. He drives all the way from frickin' Montana, wins a heat race at the 100. He gets disqualified because it wouldn't turn all the way. It wasn't turning quicker, right? If they would have just dropped the drag link loose and turned it lock to lock, it would have been 2.5 or more turns. He would have been perfectly fine. They refused to tech that. That's bullshit. That is literally just being absolutely unreasonable. I had other people say, well, they measured my wheelbase. Well, one guy said, hey, they measured my wheelbase. I measured it was definitely short. I was in the wrong. It was short. I had another guy reach out and say they measured my wheelbase. My wheels were turned. They wouldn't let me straighten my wheels, and because of that, I was short. I literally came back over there for them to check it so I could race the next day. Didn't check nothing, and I was good. I don't know. I mean, I know some of the people you're dealing with here, but let me ask you this, Kraus. If you're in the tech shed, right, and you DQ somebody, do you got to be an asshole? I mean, do you have to be, right? Because let's face it, there's some shit that happened that we'll probably save that for another show because I know there's some stuff going on, but I mean, people got DQ'd. They're already upset. They're frustrated. They're mad. They got DQ'd. And then on top of it, you got the head of Wisota Tech and banging on these drivers, being an unreasonable dickhead. I mean, honestly, Bert, I don't know if you saw the video. There's a video out. Kraus, you saw that. That guy should be fired. That should be instantly. You're out, right? And I know some promoters caught wind of that and saw that and had conversations with Wisota. I don't know what's happening there, but it's absolutely unfortunate that you just can't be civil. I mean, there's some people just they got to be a dickhead on top of it, and that's just and that's what ruins it, right? That's when you get people saying, "Fuck it, I'm not coming back to the 100. Why would I want to come back here and be treated like shit? Why would I want to do that?" All for teching, and if you got to DQ somebody, you got to DQ them, but at least treat them like a human being. This is bullshit. So let's jump on to the next one here. Colton actually sent me this here today. He goes, "Did you see the Wisota 100 winning A-Mod is for sale? Did you see that? Did you guys see that? The post on Facebook? It won the 21 and the 24 Wisota 100. So that means the car's like 4 years old, right? If I'm doing my math, 3, 4, 01, 02, 03, 04. So 4, it's on its 4th year. $75,000 for a 4-year-old used modified? Are you out of your fucking mind?
But
right?
it's turnkey though.
It's turnkey, yeah. Yeah, 70. We wonder, and he put on here, he goes, who on their right mind can afford that? And is this why racing is dying? Most people can't afford that, and yes, this is why racing is dying. Somebody will pay it. Somebody will buy it. It's a good piece, but $75,000 for a mod to go out race for $400 to win. I mean, I got to be honest with you. Like, I love racing, but no, thank you. I'm just not interested in doing that. And it's getting to be more and more. And we talk about tires, right? Let's face it. I mean, we bang on Hoosier about tire prices. When you're spending $75,000 on a turnkey modified that's 4 years old, I think the tires at this point probably the least of the worries. Yeah, that's what you're racing against. If you're a budget guy out there, I would say find a class that suits what you have financially, because modifieds are cool, but street stocks are just as cool. Street stock racing is excellent. You don't need to have a 75 or 100. I mean, if it's 75,000 used, it's what, 100 grand new, right? I mean, gotta be. So, yeah, that's a bunch. That's a bunch. Another one here. So this one came from Dan. Did you see the Brandon Dolman deal on day 3 modified feature? So Bert, you did not see that. So modified feature, Don Eichen's leading. Brandon Dolman and Blake Jetvig were 2nd and 3rd Delaware double file. They come off of turn 4, and next thing you know, Dandy Don is facing the wrong direction in front of oncoming traffic, and yellow comes out, Brandon Dolman to the back, and a bunch of people in the tech shed are like, holy shit, did Dolman get screwed? And I'm like, I had to jump back on and watch it. They put the wrong guy to the back. Shit happened fast. They knew that he got dumped. They thought it was Dolman. It was Jetvig. Racing deal. Dolman goes to the back. He's pissed, right? And literally, things were said to Wisota board members, and like everybody it was all heated. And between that and the no fault caution stuff that's happening at Cedar Lake, that leads into Pat's question, and then I got to come back to this. Between that, should we just 100% go to instant replay? That's his question. Now, we dunk on officials all the time, right? I mean, holy shit, did you see that call? Is that guy freaking blind? What a moron, right? And I mean, I don't know about you guys, but there's been several times where I'm watching a race and it happens like that, and you're like, holy shit, it was this guy's fault? And then they show the replay, you're like, I guess maybe not. It was this guy's fault, right? Well, that's on a big screen TV. They're literally sitting in the infield trying to make a call, and they're going to get it wrong. It just happens. They're going to get it wrong. Sometimes it happens. But we have all the technology there. There's multiple camera angles, and we have the ability at home to slow it down. We do. I mean, Kraus, me and you have done that many times where we slow it down like, hey, you see, this is exactly what happens. Like, you weren't going to see that on the racetrack. Now, the conversation happened that Wisota admitted, hey, this was a wrong call. We screwed you. It was a bad deal. So props to Wisota. Sounds like they offered up free tickets in the next year's one, free parking spot and free tickets in next year's 100, according to Brandon. So looks like they're going to try to the best of their ability, kind of make things right. And they said, but we don't do instant replay. But apparently conversations are being had that at the 100 next year, they're actually very, very strongly considering implementing instant replay. Your thoughts?
Well, I've said this several times on the show. I'm against instant replay, but maybe I'll relent a little bit. Maybe for a big show like this, it would be all right. The reason I'm against instant replay in weekly shows is because if you're racing for national points, if you do it at one track, you have to do it at every track. Otherwise, it's not fair. But I mean, for a big show like this, I could see using it if you can make it work.
As long as they can do it in a timely fashion, right? We can't be doing like a 10-minute freaking delay every time there's a yellow. But Kraus, when you saw that incident, how quickly did you realize, like, holy shit, that was the wrong call? It was like
not until the replay.
Right.
When you watch that live, first thing I said, Dolman dumped him. I mean, that was the toughest call I've ever seen to have made at a racetrack. It really was. You had no idea. Then all of a sudden, boom, our boy Brandon from Elevate Visual showed the slow motion instant replay. And then it was jet big. I'm like, holy smokes, they made the wrong call. So I think they should do it at the Wisota 100. I think they should give all the drivers a challenge flag that you put in your pocket. So if you think you got a wrong call, you stop in front of the flag man, and then you throw your challenge flag out on the track. And I tell you, can you imagine the grandstand? Could you imagine the grandstand on that deal? And then hey, let's have an instant replay and go from that route. I think just having some fun here. It's never going to happen, but I think at a big show,
that would be cool.
That'd be really cool. I think at a big, there'd be challenge flags laying all over the place. It'd be like, what the hell's going on out here? Races get done at 4 a.m.
Can you imagine if they had those when Nesbitt was racing?
Oh man, yeah, for sure. You know, and there's tracks that already do implement it, right? There's tracks. I know the Challenge Series. They don't maybe use it every single time, but quite often, if there's an incident that's questionable, they look at it. So we live in a world today where technology is there. Let's use it to get the call right. So I guess bad deal for Brandon Dolman. Feel bad. He had a good run going. He was going to be on the podium. But if something good comes of it, I guess that's all we can hope for. Evan has one for Bert here. 2 Dirt Kings races left, Bert. 2 Dirt Kings races left. As of right now, from the best of my math, 2 cars have raced all the shows. 3rd place has not raced all the shows. I know I looked at that on my race pass. Okay. So 2. Yep, so 2. Is it going to be back in 2025? Have you heard anything?
I haven't heard anything. If I were to guess, I would say Dirt Kings will be back next year. What's going to be interesting to see is how they formulate the schedule, though, because they've had a lot of races where drivers have had to travel long distances, and the first few years, they would get 15 cars or so that would travel. But I mean, this last week they raced in Langley County, which is, an hour from Shawano. I mean, it's longer for the Plymouth drivers. I mean, it's a few hours, but they had 15 cars for 2,500 to win. So I think they definitely need to look at brainstorm, and they got to do something different, because I with a series, you want it to grow, and I don't see it growing right now. It's going in the opposite direction, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good series for a long time, and they're going to have to do something different. I agree. I don't know what the answers are. I don't know what they're going to do, but it'd be interesting to maybe get a hold of him and see what Jason, right? Is Jason?
Yeah, Jason.
Yeah, and see what Jason has in mind, what his plans are for 2025. Because, I mean, I'm sure he has a lot of pride in that series. I mean, he put time into it. It's been his baby for a while, and I can't imagine that he wants it to fail.
I mean, I've been critical of some things, with the scheduling and stuff, but I mean, I don't want to see Dirt Kings disappear. I mean, that's not good for anybody. I
Right.
mean, what I would like to see is them schedule more races closer to the Shawano Plymouth area, because that's where your cars come from.
Right. I agree. So we'll see what happens there. Robbie had a quick one here. He said, how are the points battles looking after the Wisota 100? Late models, I'll be honest, it's locked. TPO is going to be your national champion. Dustin Strand said, I'm not going to the 100. He needed to win like 5 or 6 113-point shows to surpass him. I think 5. And he's like, there's just not enough races left to get that done. I'm kind of locked into second. Sobraski could go on a tear and maybe take it over. But right now it sits TPO, Dustin Strand, Shane Sobraski, your top 3. In the modifieds, none of them had a very good week. It kind of sits like it did before the weekend. Team Canada there, Cole Chernosky leading the way, 32-34. A slight edge there on Mike Stearns, who's sitting in second. Stearns so if Chernosky has a rough weekend up in Thunder Bay, remember, it's his hometown invitational Dirt Track Nationals, Thunder City Speedway. He could very easily win both of them. He's good at home. He's really good there. But if he has a bad weekend and Stearns, Kevin Adams, or Sobraski go on to have a good weekend, it is still a 4-person race. Now, Chernosky could make life very difficult by winning a couple races at home and separating from the pack, but it's a 4-person battle between those 4. Super stocks after the weekend, Dexton Cook has about sealed the deal on the 2024 National Championship in the Superstock. Sobraski, though, has slid ahead of Kurt Myers. Took over the second spot, Myers in third. Midwest Mods, Team Canada leading the way as well. David Simpson, I mean, it is all but over in that one, but there's still a battle for second, surprisingly enough. So Joey Jensen is sitting in second, but Brandon Rehill from up in Canada is right behind him. Literally, he is 1 or 2 good shows from taking over second, so that is possible. Another guy that could slide up into second, Tony Liker, that's got a pair of shows this weekend out in Sheridan. So it's a 3-way battle for second, but it looks like David Simpson's going to be your champion. And in the straight stocks, Braden Brower, another 113-point win this weekend. That deal's over. But the battle and the real question is this: can his brother slide into second, and can it be Brower 1-2 to finish off the 2024 season? Right now, Rob Petroff from out in Bozeman, Montana, he sits in second right now. Colton Brower third, Maria Bruxick fourth, and Ty Agan in fifth. So the battle for that one is in second, and that would be a cool story for the Brower family to go 1-2 and win the national or the Wisota 100 in the same year. So let's do this rapid fire recaps. We'll just kind of roll on into who's hot and who's not. Brought to you by Daytona 1 Performance Lubricants. So Buck is the founder of this company, very passionate about performance and durability and saving racers money. And how do you do that? By having products out there in the lubricant industry that are going to help engines, gears, power steering, transmissions, tires, you name it. He's got lubricants for all applications that are going to give you higher performance and at the same time more durability. And he's super proud of the tire treatments that he has, because it's one of the expenses that we have every single week in racing is tires. And he does have products out there that can make you run your tires just a little bit longer. Give Chad a call, 507-828-3536. That's Daytona 1 Performance Lubricants. So quickly, is there anything that you guys have that we maybe didn't touch on that you're like, hey, we should maybe touch on this, or do you want to just jump right into who's hot and who's not? Bert, go ahead.
Well, I just want to touch on the Dirt Kings races a little bit from last week.
Sure.
They raced in Langley County Speedway in Antigo on Friday night. They have 15 cars, like I said, only 7 finished. As Chris Ortel described it, the track was a little rough. It was a little rough. And Taylor Scheffler won that race. But I wanted to mention the race at Seymour on Saturday night because I shared the video with you guys, and I watched this race. I watched it on streaming, but I watched it live, and Mitch McGrath started fourth row outside, and they had just watered the high side right before the late model feature. And usually when they do that, it's usually a top dominant track. And Mitch McGrath started 8th, and he was leading the race by the end of the second lap. I mean, it was just crazy because he was the only one who went to the very top. And then he actually lost the lead to Mike Mullen, but he was saved because a caution came out. And then he never left the top until they got the lap traffic late in the race. And he went low, Mullen went high, and Mullen wound up getting the victory there. So, but it was just crazy how he went from 8th to 1st in 2 laps.
What's crazy is why would the drivers not be aware of their circumstances, right? Kraus, you ever I mean, Point Evers lineup, you started 5th, 6th row all the time in the super stocks when you were hot and heavy racing all the time. You ever have that situation where you're at Viking, you're starting 6th row outside, and next thing you know, they kind of miss the top and everybody goes down and you're like, what are they doing down there? And you just drive by them.
Well, the other thing is too, you got to take a look at the lineup and, hey, this guy's going to go low. This guy's going to stay in the middle. You know what I mean? You got to kind of look at that, say, because you race against guys every week. You pick up on their tendencies. So I remember I won one race at Viking. I told Shane for the race what I was going to do the first lap. And I came in the pits and he goes, are you kidding me right now? Because I came out in like 3rd, I started 8th, and I said, this guy's going to push. He's going to go up the hill. I'm going to turn down. This guy's going to slide up. I'm going to duck down the bottom of 3, and I'm going to get another guy on the high side. And I did the exact, so it's crazy how sometimes that things work. But maybe he did his homework and said, and he obviously did because he went right to the top. And seriously, it looked like a late model racing against a bunch of Hornets is what it looked like. I mean, he was flying by those guys. So he probably had his mindset, hey, I'm starting back here. I'm going to let her fly. If it don't work, it don't work. And I'm still going to be sticking 7th or 8th, or else I'm going to come out in the lead.
Yeah, then he zigged when he should have zagged and lapped traffic, and he got bit, and that's all she wrote. So let's go with let's start with who's not. Bert, who do you have on who's not?
Nationally, I am going to go with David Gravel. That points race is, I mean, he's still, I think it's like 86 points. So, he's still got a decent lead, but Carson Marcino has really cut into it. And, who knows, maybe we'll have a late model and sprint car series decided the final race of the season. That would be kind of cool.
That would be very cool. Anybody else on the local level on not hot, or is that kind of what you got?
I'll go with Brad Miller, and he lives down in Random Lake, down near Milwaukee. So he made the drive to Anigo on Friday night, and he tangled with infield tire, just totally demolished his nose. And part of the reason I'm going with him is because the next night in Seymour, and he posted this on Facebook, so he's making fun of himself. And maybe you guys can tell me if this has ever happened to you, but he would have been high. He would have been starting near the front in the feature, but he wound up starting 17th because on the last lap in the heat race, he pulled into the infield because he thought the checkered flag had flown.
No, that has not. I won a race like that. Thank you, Jeff Provenzino. He pulled off on the white flag lap one time, and I believe it was Rapids, and I inherited a victory from him. But no, I have not. Kraus, I'm guessing you have not either, right? Yeah, no.
Nope.
Brad, come on, guy. Come on. All right. Kraus, Coach Kraus, not hot.
I got nobody nationally because I didn't watch one darn national race all weekend. Wisota's 100 was going on. There's nothing else to watch. The only local guys I got, I was kind of ready to watch them, but the Team Canada national point leaders, Ryan, David Simpson and Cole Chernosky were nowhere to be found at I-94 this past weekend. So I think a lot of eyes on them. Obviously, and it's not, we had to play the Canadian national anthem at the 100 because of them. That doesn't make many people happy either. Sorry to all you Canadians out there. But yeah, I think Simpson was he a DNS in the LCQ too in the Midwest Mod. So, and I think everybody watching Chernosky, not a lot of laps down there. I get that competition's really, really stiff, obviously. But I was looking for, I think a lot of people were watching them, wanted to see them, what they were made of, what they were doing. Not a lot of people knew of them. Another negative towards the 100. Wasn't a lot of point talk with the announcers. You know what I mean? Like, you got Cole Chernosky and David Simpson leading the national points down here, and I don't even think it was mentioned maybe once or twice, about the point battle. So, not hot was the Wisota 100 point people and the announcers for not talking about that's a huge deal. It's the only thing you should be really talking about there. Is, hey, here's a point battle here. This guy's going to get a 113 here. This guy needs a 113 and chucking an 88. You know what I mean? There was none of that really going on. So that's my not hot list for you right there.
Boy, I tell you what, I think you read off my notes, right? Because I had David Gravel, and then I have nitpicking text guys, right? I had that, but I had Midwest Mod and modified point contenders in general, right? Joey Jensen had some issues the first couple of nights. So, I mean, Joey, I don't think Brandon Rehill even went. And then, of course, Simpson, they were just kind of non-existent. In the A-mods, you had Sobraski was probably the best of them, but he DNF'd. I'm not sure what happened. But Stearns, Buzzy, Chernosky, they just a very forgettable weekend for them for sure. But you're spot on. It's like, what are they doing? Why are they not talking about the points, right? It's like these drivers race all year long, racing for a national championship, battling for a position. Give them their props, give them their kudos, and I don't understand why they're not prepared enough to do that. Why they should have had maybe another person in the announcing booth that was just focused on that side of things. I don't know, but very unfortunate that they didn't do that. And I got Rico Abreu. As good as he's been the past couple of weeks, he I don't know what happened with 15th and 23rd or 24th. He had a really rough weekend. And speaking of the high limits, so Corey Day, they were up in Lernerville, Commonwealth Clash. I think it was 10 grand to win and 50 grand to win. Corey Day killed him night one. Night number two, Corey Day was gone. He was going to kill him again. I don't know if you guys saw that, but he come off at turn two. His rear end housing broke in half, and he ended up in the trees. I mean, he yard sailed left the back straightaway upside down, and he got out. He was okay. Brent Marks goes on to lead. He gets a right rear flat, and Sunshine Tyler Courtney jumps out up front and never looks back and gets the win. But little news there, Bert, on Corey Day. So he did win an asphalt late model race, I think, at Hickory earlier this year. So he's running a little bit of pavement stuff. I mean, he's, 19 years old, and he's been legit fast in the high limit sprint car series. What's he got going on this week, Bert?
Yeah, it was announced today that he's going to be making his debut in the NASCAR. Is it the Craftsman Truck Series? Is it still Craftsman? The Truck Series at Bristol. So we'll see how he does there.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So Corey Day, another guy that making that transition back and forth between dirt and pavement. Hot list, Bert, what do you got?
Nationally, obviously Garrett Albertson had a good week, and locally I'll go with Taylor Scheffler. He won at Anigo and finished third at Seymour in Dirt Kings action.
Awesome. Coach Krause, hot list.
Nobody. We got, I didn't watch any national stuff, so I don't care who's hot. We'll watch that this weekend. And then, the 100's just kind of a show that I like to watch as a fan. You know what I mean? It's, whether they're hot or not coming into the show, everybody should be hot coming into the Wisota 100. So, as me, it's just a fan of just watching it. I'm not allowed to talk about him on the show, but I have to give Ryan Michelson a shout out. That was a heck of a, he gets mad at me. He says I jinx him when I talk about him on the show. Well, tough crap, Ryan. You deserve a shout out for Mr. Ryan Aho was being mean to you on Wednesday night. A lot of us have jobs. A lot of us have to pick our kids up from school. A lot of us have to bring our kids to school. A lot of us have to drive back and forth Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and we can't we can't spend a day up in a camper at the Wisota 100 for 5 straight days. So shout out to Ryan. That was a heck of a drive, driving from basically you started in Fargo and ended up third. So it was fun to watch. I was hoping Gresteth was going to put the 7A in the Toolies and you were going to drive a run down for the win. So I was hoping that was going to happen. So it's just a shout out to Ryan there. Hopefully he can, I don't know if he's going to be racing much more. Like I said, he's busy. He's gets kids flying all over the place and doing all that good stuff. So got to give him a shout out though.
I don't know if he will or not, but I would expect him to go to Jamestown. That's kind of a hometown deal for the Stampede, but I'm not really sure if he's going. But that almost happened, right? Because Sobraski threw the hella block there on Gresseth on the final lap, and if they would have got together, that could have been Michelson from 19th. I have Ashley Anderson. Boy, he's been good. He won the Northern Nationals. He won the legendary 100. He's really good at Proctor. He's really good at Ashland. He's really good. So I think he's going to keep on rolling. Punky Manor coming up this weekend. So Ashley Anderson, Colton Brower doing everything he can to make a bid to get into second. He's been good. Cade Nelson with the trifecta. And then, of course, Shane Sobraski, when the money's on the line in the late model, it's been just unbelievable this year. So Shane Sobraski doing what Shane Sobraski does. 2024 Pick'ems brought to you by Brad Parsons Soil and Ag Solutions. So if you're in Western Minnesota, the Dakotas, and you're looking to be more profitable in your farming endeavors in the 2025 season, get the right stuff in those spray packages. And I can't tell you what that is, but Brad can. His number 320-219-3542. I do have people that have used his products that have reached out to me, fans of the show, that said, man, I tell you what, I am very impressed. So at least make the phone call to find out what he has to offer. And I tell you what, he's a racer. He wants to help other racers be more successful. So this past week, the old Rain Man himself, Curtis, had the biggest week. He had plus 15, Changa plus 13. Me and Changa were tied going into this last week. Not so much anymore. Changa now at 348, and I am tied with Curtis now for second at 344. Rough week for the 71A. The Uper has climbed into the top 5. He's at 290 and fourth. Bert at 287. Workerbee 284. Dano 282. Coach 271A. MBD, Man Bundan at 268, Bromance 244, and Beefcake at 219. So here's what we're going to do. Normally we say who we're going to pick on the show, but we're picking a lot of shows this week, guys, that we might not know who's even going to be there till Thursday because they're stuff we don't normally pick. So our picks aren't due till Thursday. We're going to post our picks, our spreadsheet of our picks on the page. So for you that like to listen and kind of keep track of who we're picking and whatnot, we'll put that out there on the Facebook page so you can kind of see and make fun of our picks and tell Kraus how bad he sucks at this deal. But the races we are picking are these. These are the ones that we're the most interested in. I'm going to list all these shows, and I want you guys to tell me what show you're most excited about and why. So we're going to pick I think it's still the Hostage 100. I think the USRA Nationals down at Wheatland, Lucas Oil Speedway, B-Mods, stock cars, and modifieds. And I believe, and I reached out to somebody, I didn't hear back in time for the show, but I believe that if you're a point runner in USRA, it's mandatory you have to be there because they give you enough bonus points like the 100 did for a few years that if you don't, you're not winning an Addy. That sucks. I think that's horseshit. If they're still doing that, that is bullshit. You race all year long. You should not have to be mandatory to go to one individual show to win it. But we're going to pick that one nonetheless. Mod War 100, Hardo, Texas Speedway, Waco, Texas. I tell you what, who's who of modified? 50 large, 50 grand to win for modifieds. And there is some hitters. Go to their Facebook page. They have an entry list. I'm expecting more than that because you don't have to pre-register. But I tell you what, it is a who's who of modified drivers racing for 50 grand. Lucas Oil Dirt Late Model Series at Knoxville. Thursday, Friday, Saturday to set the final four. All right. Any thoughts on this one? This one is interesting. And I believe, Bert, correct me if I'm wrong, the point show is Saturday, right? Thursday, Friday is the prelim to set the point show for Saturday, because Thursday, if you sweep the whole night, you don't have to race Friday. They take the best of your 2 nights. So I believe the only night that counts for Lucas Oil Series points is Saturday night. Now, it's a 15-point difference between Hudson O'Neal and T-Mac to lock into that 4th and final chase spot. Your thoughts?
Huddy's going to be going for it because I feel like he feels like he has a lot to prove. He wants. Well, he's also defending champion, so there is that too. But yeah, that'll be interesting. I mean, you have a young driver and T-Mac, the veterans, going at it. So it'll be fun. I love watching point racing, so that'll be fun to watch.
Absolutely. Is it interesting though that it hasn't been hyped up as much as what you thought? I mean, literally the defending champ on the hot seat of maybe not getting in, right? I haven't seen much on social media about that, which is interesting to me, right? So kind of a donkey award to Lucas Oil for not promoting that a little bit better. I think they're kind of dropping the ball. Knoxville, I think if that was promoted better, you might have a lot more people tuning into Knoxville knowing what's on the line, in my opinion. Dirt Track Nationals, Thunder City Speedway, Thunder Bay, Ontario, Canada. We're going to pick the Mods, Supers, Midwest Mods, and the Wisota Street Stocks up there. That's going to be fun. There's going to be a whole bunch of drivers from the States going up. Sounds like they're going to have a pretty good turnout up in Thunder Bay, Ontario. Punky Manor Challenge of Champions at the Red Cedar Speedway, Menominee, Wisconsin. We are going to be picking the Lates, Mods, Supers, Midwest Mods, and Street Stocks in Menominee. Summit Modified UMP Modified Mania at Tri-City Saturday night. So that's a UMP mod show. I'm expecting to see Mike Harrison, Mike Ledford, some of those guys, Michael Long. That should be a Kenny Wallace. That should be a really good showdown there. I think that one's on Flow. Then they got the Scott Bloomquist Memorial, the Scorcher at the Volunteer Speedway, Bulls Gap, Tennessee. That's on Thursday. Interesting though, right? Because all the Lucas cars, of course, are going to be up in Knoxville Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So World of Outlaw is not running. Bert, do you think there'll be more World of Outlaw guys at Bulls Gap or more World of Outlaw guys at Knoxville?
I'll say Bulls Gap.
Kraus?
Knoxville.
Yeah, I think Knoxville probably too. Interesting though. I mean, there's 2 unique tracks. One's a big, high bank deal, and one's a big monster half mile. So I guess we'll see. The Kelly Hampel Memorial, we're picking that. Big Sky Speedway in Billings, Late Models, Midwest Mods, and Streets. And IMCA stock cars on the card Friday night at Knoxville as well. We're going to pick those. Hunt the Front Late Models at Thunder Hill Friday, Saturday. World of Outlaw Sprint cars at Thunder Bowl on Friday, Saturday. I think that's Tulare, California. And the High Limit Sprint cars going to Eldora Friday and Saturday. Guys, out of those events, we'll get into our picks. We'll just do that and post it. Which one of those shows is most intriguing? What are you most excited about this weekend as a fan of racing to keep an eye on?
The Punky Manor's always was I haven't gone to the Punky Manor for quite a few years, but I've been to quite a few Punky Manors when MJ raced, and that was always a fun time. So I always pay attention to that race. It was fun at the track, and then also after the races, it was a lot of fun also.
A lot of stories back in the day. So the Punky, Kraus, what are you looking forward to?
Looking forward to Knoxville. It's been a while since Lucas's reign. They reigned out, and then they had the World, and so it's been a while. It's maybe the reason why we haven't heard much about them with the point battle and things like that. So I'm looking forward to Knoxville. It's obviously Knoxville and Eldora is the 2 big ones in the whole country. So interesting to see what their car count is, who's there, what kind of the fan count is, stuff like that. And it always puts on a good show. So looking forward to watching that course. And I'm heading down to Iowa this coming weekend. So I'll be. Luckily, we got a day game on Saturday, which I'm super pumped about. Because then I can watch something on the bus ride on the way home, Bert. But got to go down to Iowa and check out all the idiots out wandering around, since that's what Iowa stands for. And just looking forward to watching some racing in Knoxville.
Nice. I'm looking forward to Thunder Bay. There's going to be some hitters heading up there. Some top quality United States drivers going up against Team Canada. So we'll see what happens up in Thunder Bay at Dirt Track Nationals. 3 bold predictions brought to you by the editor to our show, Coach Kraus.
Yeah, elevate-visual.com. He's a licensed drone provider. He does commercials, any sort of video production. Get a hold of Brandon at elevate-visual.com. He's been a super busy guy lately. He's his 2 busy weeks of the year done. He does the Boone Super Nationals. He's up at the Wisota 100, worked for Dirt Race Central. So did an awesome job. Good job, Brandon. I see they got the drone working at I-94. So my guy crashed it in the weeds. I don't know if you guys heard about that, but my drone operator at Viking Speedway put the drone in the trees on Sunday. And luckily, we fished it out of there and we got the drone operated. So that was not Elevate Visual's fault. That was my drone operator. Elevate Visual does not do stuff like that. So get a hold of Brandon. Thanks for all you do, Brandon. You do a great job.
Awesome. So we got a few things we'll take off the board. Bert, you had 3. You said MLRA, the Lucas Oil MLRA shows would be swept by the Simpsons. You got the Ophir. They did not win any. You said Shane Zabrowski would podium all 3. Podiumed in the Super, podiumed in the Late, but he DNF'd in the Mod, so that did not happen. And you said the Dirt Kings would have 6 different podium drivers, and I don't believe that happened either. Yep.
No, because Taylor Scheffler was on twice.
Yep. First and third. So I had a few come off the board here. I said back a week or two, Labor Day shootout was sort of classic Midwest Mod winner. All the winners would be top 5 in points at their respective tracks. Sam Blevins, Mikey Blevins, Mervyn Castle. So that was correct. I said this past week between Rico Abreu, Bobby Pierce, Carson Macedo, Tyler Peterson, Cody Coomer, they'd all win at least one. Holy shit, did I jinx a lot of people, because Abreu, Pierce, Macedo, TPO, Coomer, they all were on the struggle bus, and I'll take 100% complete blame for that. That's my fault. I said 2 or more of the current point leaders in the Wisota National standings would win their respective 100s. Let's see, Zabrowski in the late models, no. Mods was Ebert, no. Supers, Dexton Cook, yes. Midwest Mods, Blake Adams, no. Street Stocks, Colton Brower, wrong brother. So that did not happen. All right. I said at least 7 DQs, and at least 3 of the drivers that got DQ'd would reach out and be unhappy about it. Oh, absolutely, that happened. There was more than 3 that reached out, and there was 21 that got DQ'd. So that's one right there. I said earlier this year, I said there would be more 100,000 to win sprint car races than late models. And there was, by a bunch. And we'll touch on that in the off season after Wisota's done. We'll touch on some of the bigger shows. But sprint cars, it was kind of the year of money for the sprint cars this year. That was benefit with the high limit. They had some big money shows. I also said Buzzy and Blake Adams would both win their respective national titles. Well, that did not happen. So Buzzy in striking distance. Blake kind of had a rough deal out in Sheridan, Wyoming. I said the Dulciak boys, Brian Dulciak, would score his first feature win of the year. Still a couple to go. Still could happen. And Dave Dulciak would have double-digit wins. He's only got 2, and there's only a couple races to go, so we'll take that off the board. I said Tyler Peterson would win the Challenge Series, but not lead the way in earnings. Well, Cole Searing stole it from him, and he won the series, so that was wrong. And I said Johnny Broking would win at least one of the Hibbing late model specials and podium and at least one more. And he got a first and 4th. So close, but no cigar. Huper had 4 come off the board. He said a couple weeks back when Deer Creek had a bunch of USMTS shows to go for 50 going on, he said Jim Chisholm, Jake Tim would be the only drivers winning A mains that weekend. That was not the case. But he had 3 come off the board this week and all 3 correct. He said at Lernerville, the 2 high limit races, neither night would be won by a Pennsylvania posse member. So Tyler Courtney, Corey Day got the win, so he was correct. He said 3 of the 9 Wisota 100, 3 of the 9 between Legendary 100 and Wisota 100 that out of the races that we're picking would be first-time winners. Sobraski in the late models, first-time late model winner. Dexton Cook, Colton Brower, there's 3 right off the bat. Blake Adams, so he definitely got that right. And he said Bobby Pierce would be winless this past weekend, and that happened as well. Coach, rough weekend for Coach. Rough week. 3 of the top 5 at the B-Mod Bedlam would be Wisota drivers. Boy, it was looking good after prelims. It was looking good, and it just did not happen. No driver would have multiple podiums at the 100. Shane Sobraski with a pair of podiums. Top 5 in late model points would also be the top 5 in the late model A main. Well, you were screwed from the get-go because Dustin Strand didn't even go. And you said there'd be 75 or more street stocks, and I think they were just shy of that. So that did not happen. The Peanut Gallery had 4 come off the board. Cedar Lake would have more cars than the Wisota or than the Wisota 100. That was not the case. Wisota 100 had more, despite having 5 classes compared to 9. 3 of 5 at the Wisota 100 would be repeat winners. That did not happen. They did not go back to back. At least 1 would be a first-time winner. That was correct. And then back a little bit, he said 5 drivers in the Challenge Series would end the year with at least 2 wins. And I think there was 3. Sobraski, Searing, TPO all had multiple wins. I don't think anybody else had multiple wins. So I think there was 3. And then he said the 29 star would have 5 wins on the year. No, sir. No, sir. Not 5 wins for Jeff Krause. So as it sits, we keep track of correct predictions and correct percentage. Uper leading the way in both. He's got 26 correct predictions. The Peanut Gallery and myself at 19, and Coach, you and Bert at 18. I think he's pencil whipping us, but I'm not sure. He's got 32.1 correct. I'm second there with 25. Coach, you're at 23.1, slightly ahead of the Peanut Gallery at 22.9, and Bert, you're at 21.4. Kind of struggle bus there. We all kind of suck at this, to be honest. Like, none of us have really good numbers here. So we got, we'll end the show with this. 3 bold predictions. We'll make 3 laps around the track. We'll go Bert, Krause, Uper, and myself. Beefcake didn't get his in on time, so we're going to forego his picks here today. So, Bert, what's your first prediction?
I'm gonna go Dirt Track Nationals in Thunder Bay and say Cole Chernosky will get feature wins in 2 different divisions.
Okay. Chernosky with feature wins in 2. I don't know if he's running a B mod. I would assume so. So I think he'll probably run A mod, Super Stock, Wisota, Midwest mod, I'm guessing. All right, Coach.
We're going to Punky Manor. They got 5 classes this weekend: late models, modified super stocks, Midwest mod, street stocks. Wisconsin drivers are going to sweep the podium in all 5 classes. So, yeah, we're going bold. Now, I'm not like the rest of you guys in punt. I'm not like Uper, who don't even, oh, yeah, there's going to be some cars at Knoxville this weekend. Yeah, well, no shit, Uper. So, we're going bold. Wisconsin, all 5 classes sweeping the podium.
That is bold. That is, you swing. I'll give it to you. You swing for the fences. There's no doubt. All right, Uper's first prediction, based on our conversation and the rumor mill going on. In 2025, Brandon Shepard will be back in Rocket 1. So Brandon Shepard back to Rocket 1 for 2025. I am going to go to the other house car based on I'm going to put my money where my mouth is here, and we'll see what happens. Big, sexy Brandon Overton will be the Longhorn house driver in 2025. Brandon Overton, the Longhorn, 2025. All right, Bert, your second one.
I'm gonna go to Lucas Oil Late and say your defending champion Huddy will get shut out of the Final Four.
Hudson O'Neal shut out of the Final Four. All right, Coach.
Oh, 1-for-1, Bert. I gotta agree. He finally did something right. You didn't talk about Strickler. You didn't talk about Ross Bales. You didn't talk about Donald McIntosh. You did something right here, Bert. That a boy. I like that one. We're going to Knoxville as well. I'm gonna go. We're going beyond podiums. We're going Longhorns. Longhorns going top 5 at Knoxville. The top 5 is going to be all Longhorns.
Top 5 being all Longhorns. All right. Well, that leads into Uper's Knoxville prediction. According to him, 2 of them top 5 are not, or 2 of the top 3 are not going to be these guys. RTJ and Bobby Pierce. Neither one of those 2 drivers will finish on the podium Saturday night in the A main at Knoxville. RTJ, Bobby Pierce, both off the podium in the big A main at Knoxville. My second one here, I'm going to go to the punky. Actually, I'm going to go kind of a end of the year type deal here. So Ashley Anderson's been hot and Kennedy Swan is due. Okay, so it's a parlay here. Ashley Anderson will podium the remaining races that he attends. So I'm assuming, right, that is going to be the punky, the Silver 1000, and the Red Clay Classic. Ashley Anderson will podium all 3, and he has to be there for it to count, and will win at least one of those races. So that'll happen. And a parlay on top of this between those very same 3 races, the Punky Manor, the Silver, and the Red Clay, Kennedy Swan will podium at least one of the 3 of those races as well. All right, Bert, your third and final prediction.
I'm assuming they're racing there. I'll go Punky Manor and say there will be 2 Adams winning features at the Punky Manor.
Okay.
Buzzy and Blake.
Ben Adams, John Adams, Quincy Adams. All right. Buzzy and Blake, A main winners at the Punky. Okay. Coach?
I'm going to Jamestown, the stock car Stampede. I've raced there once, Ryan, way back in, boy, this is 2003, Bert, I think was the only time I went to the Stampede. So I got second in the B feature, started 20th and got 9th. I wasn't I wasn't awful. I'll take that run. We ran green to checkered. So we're going to go, the top 3 late model finishers are all going to be 3 drivers that finished in the top 10 in the NLRA standings. Make sense to you?
Top 3 finishers in the late model. The podium in the late models.
Yep.
Will all be drivers that were top 10 in NLRA points.
Correct.
Okay. Trying to think if there's a curveball here, if maybe Aaron Turnbull's going to come down and ruin the party for you.
You never know. As late models don't really have a lot of places to run this weekend, so there might get some travelers out there.
South Dakota guys probably be at Casino, right? They got Autumn Classic coming up, doubleheader there. Punky, right? So I don't know, maybe you get some range cars, maybe you get Provenzino or one of them guys maybe make the trip over. I'm not sure if they're going or not. Ryan Michelson could ruin the party. There's the guy right there. You probably got insider info if he's going or not. It's his hometown. You'd think he's going, but
I haven't heard from him. Usually the Shaw Trucking hacks make their way out there too. So they got potential to do good out there. So you never know who's going to show up.
All right, Jeff's Uncle Donnie. All right, fair enough. And Brother Dave. Fair enough. All right, so Uper's third and final prediction here. We're going to go Dirt Track Nationals, Thunder City Speedway. Cole Chernosky will win at least 3 A mains over the weekend. So I believe there's 6 possibilities. So he will win at least 3. So I was very close to Bert's. And I'm going to go with the Coach Kraus prediction. I'm going to call this. I'm going to go with the Coach Kraus prediction. Team USA will win. I don't know who keeps calling me here, but I'll call them back. Team USA will win at least 50% of the A mains at the Dirt Track Nationals. So they got good hometown contingent, but 50% or more, and this is in the modifieds, super stocks, and Midwest mods. That's those 3 classes. So between those 3 classes, 50% or more of the A mains will be won by Team USA. That's my Coach Kraus prediction right there. All right. So that's episode 2, Buzzy Adams, 240 in the book. And thanks to all of our great sponsors. Always fun talking racing. Put in the comments below what you're looking forward to this weekend. And if you ever have any feedback, questions, whatever it may be, reach out to any one of us. Support our sponsors when you can. I'm Ryan. That's Coach. That's Bert. Thanks for tuning in to the One to Go Show.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Hope you enjoyed the show. If you did, please leave a review and subscribe. It is Puka. And Goat Sports has another show out there by podcast, Facebook, and YouTube. It's the Tea with Miss McGill show. Covers hockey, high school hockey in northern Minnesota. So if you're into hockey, you can find us on podcast under Tea with Miss McGill. You can find us on YouTube or Facebook, Goat Sports Media LLC. Yours truly and Coach Reed Larson. We break it down every week. We also do some interesting interviews. We'd love to have you. So tell your friends, tell your enemies, and we'll catch you next week.
Goat Sports.